Good morning, everybody. This is the Oskar Quentin Show, where I take calls from the general public on TikTok, and very soon through a phone number that you will be able to see on the screen and call if you want to call in some other way. Working on that in the background, but there are some technical challenges with that. If you're watching this episode after the fact, there's going to be a pinned comment at the top of the YouTube comments that'll tell you when the first call starts, as well as some more comprehensive timestamps in the description. TP in the chat says, wait, it's just me? Yep, just you and me today. Just gonna be you and me. No, some other people are probably gonna show up and we're gonna have a good show on this particular Saturday. News? I don't know. I was out late. I celebrated my birthday last night. It wasn't my birthday yesterday, it was my birthday recently, but went singing in the bar, in the karaoke bars with my friends and the staff. So I'm a little tired, but we'll see if I end up doing a 4-hour show today. We'll see if I only do the regular 2 hours. We shall see. Barbara hopes I had fun. I did. I had lots and lots of fun. I do want to thank somebody who sent me a buy me a coffee, but I'm not going to read their message today because it's song lyrics to the tune of a song that I'm not familiar with. So Jake, thank you. I will learn that song. I will sing your donation read tomorrow, but not today. But thank you for that. I appreciate it. What else? Yeah, I don't know what's going on in the news. I've been really trying to keep the rage bait on the sign properly rage inducing, because it is meant to make the Trump supporters stop and want to call in, and we'll see if this one works. I don't know. I'm gonna get my backup account in the corner. If you're not following that on TikTok, you should be, so that when I get banned, you can watch the show. I don't even know which account this is. I've got 2 backup accounts. Let's see if I request. Which one is it? Oskar Quentin Music. Yes, you should follow that account. It'll appear in the corner. There it is. Okay, let's take a look. Do I already have donations on YouTube Super Chat? You guys are the best. Lover of Life sent $2 to say we should name ourselves as Oscar's followers. I feel like the Discord came up with some kind of silly name for what everybody should be called. Sean says for $2, is it another hangover day? I'm not that hungover. Mostly it's just that I went to bed late. I think I kept my ratio of beers to waters good last night, so I'm feeling good. But 3 minutes into the show, we've got 2 callers in the queue, so we're gonna hit the ground running by talking to Sup, and we're gonna see what's up with him. If he's a Trump supporter, if they're of age.
Hello, Oscar.
Hello, how old are you?
Oh, I'm 18.
I'm gonna believe you for now. You support Trump?
Yeah, did you know that Charlie Kirk is actually Donald Trump is actually like a Charlie Kirk accelerationist? Yo, that's like so fucking sick.
Hey man, you're 18, right? You're a young person.
Yeah.
I know that American politics has been kind of a joke for the entire time that you're paying attention, but it was different before that, right? Do you remember when you were a little kid? Do you remember a time when Trump wasn't
in America when I was a little kid?
Yeah, so you probably don't even remember a time when Trump wasn't involved in American politics, right?
Sure.
I'm just really saddened by the fact that, people like yourself can kind of...
Oscar, I'm trolling.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm talking about. It's that you think that...
I'm not 18. No, you're...
Okay, goodbye. Yeah, it's like, you're probably still listening. It's saddening to me that you can't take this seriously, because you're an adult now. Or you will be soon, because it sounds like you're not of age. I don't think he liked me taking that call seriously. I think that's why he announced that he'd lied to me about his age, so that he could get out of that. Because I don't think he wants somebody to say, hey man, what are you doing? People are dying. These are the policies that affect what the rest of your life is going to be like. If you weren't in America when you were young, it means you're an immigrant, and I'm afraid for you. So keep trolling if that's the way you want to cope with what's going on around you. We're going to talk to Gerb. We're going to see if Gerb is a serious caller. There aren't that many serious callers left.
Yo, what's good, Oscar?
I'm having a pretty good day. How old are you?
22.
22. Are you a Trump supporter?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because,
if you leave the app...
we should have voted for Kanye.
Well, whatever bit you were trying to do, couldn't hear it. Clashed. Anyway, Kronos for $2 on YouTube Super Chat says, Daily Dono Discord shows Oscar fans, I think, as OF. Yeah, Oscar fans instead of OnlyFans. Fun. Fun. Yeah, what's today? Saturday? Oh, it doesn't matter. It's summer. The kids aren't in school. But yeah, the kids are cooked, yo. To use their speak, they're fucking cooked, man. COVID fucked it up for them. These kids didn't have middle school because of COVID, like these new voters. And I'm always just trying to, like, whenever those moments happen, where I'm just trying, like, I want to grab one of those kids and be like, what are you doing? Like why are you spending your time? Why are you spending your time, like, making memes about, like, what's going on in the country? Gerb, somebody block Gerb. He's back in the queue. Or I should have left him in the queue so the mods can block him. Joshua, get in here, buddy. Let's talk. No, Jacob's in the queue. We're going to talk to Jacob. Hello, Jacob. How old are you?
I'm 18.
I'm going to believe you, even though I've been struggling with that today already. Do you support Trump?
No, I don't.
Just looking for Trump supporters right now. Oh, let's see. We got Gerb blocked. That's good. We got W Trump. W Trump, 3 of them. Look at that. And then Joshua, come tell me why you think W Trump. Default username. So we're gonna hover that disconnect button, but there is a profile picture. Hello, how old are you?
32.
Do you support Trump?
Yes.
Why is that?
Trump may make America weaker, but he makes China stronger.
Okay, so you're pro-China?
Yes.
Okay, so, I mean, that's kind of an argument in favor of my position, which, I mean, it's silly, I think, your position. Why do you want China to succeed?
Because if they succeed, there is a chance we might get high-speed rail.
You want China to take over the world and give us high-speed rail?
True.
You think that that's the best path to getting high-speed rail in America, is to make sure that China takes over the world?
I mean, it seems like the only viable path right now.
I don't think that's sensible. And I think that if you thought that it was sensible, you'd turn on your camera for a moment to show everybody that this is a serious call and not a troll. So I'm going to ask you to do that or get off my show.
To show camera? What does that have to do with the seriousness of what I'm talking about?
It's just that when people
the ascension of China, Xi Jinping.
It's that when people are being unserious on the internet, they don't show their faces because they don't want people in their lives to see that they do such unserious, ridiculous things on the internet. And if you are just such a person,
that's not the only reason, though. So, right?
The reason doesn't matter because I'm in charge here.
Why are you getting so upset?
This is my show. So you're going to turn your camera on or you're going to leave.
Why are you getting so upset, buddy? It's okay. China, Xi Jinping will bring his prosperity upon us. 8 minutes and
20 seconds into the show, you have 15 seconds
we will destroy private property. We will abolish private property.
Yeah, if you want to have a conversation about that, turn your camera on.
Why?
I just explained why. Goodbye.
But it doesn't make sense to me.
Lots of things don't make sense to you. Obviously. Darth Sweet, we're going to see if they're a serious person who has a fucking backbone, wants to talk about some serious shit on my show where we talk about serious shit. Darth Sweet, how old are you?
May of 86, sir. I am 40 years old.
Cool. You support Trump?
No, I think the guy's a narcissist.
All right, just looking for opposition right now. J_8185. We're going to see if he is opposition.
Hello?
Hello, how old are you?
I'm 8.
Don't call from the bathtub, please. I don't know what this symbol is. 3 horizontal lines? That's what the username is. It's just a symbol. How old are you?
Hello, I'm 20.
What are your pronouns?
USA.
Okay. You support Trump?
Okay, so you could help me, like, convince my whole family to not support Trump.
I can debate with a family member if they consent, or are you asking for advice on how to...
Yeah, I'm asking for advice, like...
So, I hear you. I would just advise you to watch the show. Because what you can do is look for callers who behave in the way that your family members behave. And if you find a caller that that maybe uses some of the arguments of your family members, then maybe the way that I speak to them will be effective. Though, maybe the way that I speak to my callers isn't going to be effective on your family, so you can pick up some tools from some other hosts as well. But it is a hard question. How do you reach people? But we did have some good conversations about that on yesterday's episode, and you can find that on my YouTube. Today's 104, I think, so that'd be 103. Roughhouse Genetics. He said host is beyond weak. I think that's beyond a weak thing to say in the chat. I bet he's not going to come up and show his face. Roughhouse, get in the damn queue if you're not so weak. Rice Pudding is our next caller. Man, all bark, no bite today. This is fun. Rice Pudding, how old are you?
21.
Are you a Trump supporter?
Yep.
Why is that?
Yeah, he fits in America, making the economy great.
I'm just gonna I just detect in the tone of your voice that it doesn't sound to me like you have conviction. I don't think you're serious, so I just gonna ask you to turn your camera on before we proceed.
Yeah, I'm kind of shy. I don't like to turn my camera on.
Do you really think that Trump is good for the economy?
Yeah, I like the executive order that he passed. That
executive orders don't pass. Laws pass.
Yeah, I like that. The security order saved my life when he did.
Yeah, I think that you're going around spewing some bullshit, and I don't think you like that. I'm insisting today that people who spew such bullshit have it associated with their identity. So you're not going to turn your camera on just for a moment. If it's just stage fright, you don't have to have your camera on the whole time we talk. I just want you to pop it on for 10 seconds, say hello, and then we can proceed. Are you willing to do that? Okay,
to be honest, I'm joking. I don't support Trump.
Stop wasting my time. If you don't support Trump, you are supporting him by fucking with my show. That's kind of the Dean Withers argument that he's been making against the trolls, which will just encourage more trolls. But if you're against the guy, get the fuck out of the way. I'm trying to do a thing here. Anyway, if you enjoy the way that I bat off the trolls, because real Trump supporters don't exist anymore, best I can tell, you can go to the link tree in my bio and follow me on the other platforms and stuff. There are episodes of this show where I have found some real serious Trump supporters, and we've convinced them of some stuff. We've been talking to some 18-year-olds lately. We've been talking to some youngsters about. I feel like my success rate on getting 18-year-olds or just younger people, generally people under the age of 22, 23, to stop caring about abortion as an issue, just stop bothering women about their bodies, or stop caring about trans people as an issue, just leave them alone, which is kind of my stand. That's kind of where we could get down the philosophical rabbit hole about both those topics for hours, and we do on the show. But just leave them alone. It's kind of the hey man, the world would be a better place if you fucked off about this particular wedge issue. Tina, thank you for the shiny air balloon. I appreciate you. But my success rate on talking to youngsters has been good. We've convinced we've convinced some youngsters to not believe such nonsense. So I've been kind of enjoying those calls lately. Maud Birdie. That doesn't sound like an oppositional username. I don't know why, but it doesn't. Nope. Yeah, I don't think they meant to be in the queue. That Sweet says the cat. Yes, that's Scout. Scout's the show's mascot. She's very shy in real life. She doesn't like other people. But she likes sitting right here on the desk. Let's see. Let's read the YouTube super chats. Non-bobbers. Oskar is 31. The dad moggers are in shambles. It feels weird to be dad mogging people, because people call it that sometimes when I go into dad mode talking to some doofus about politics, where it's I gotta hold his hand and teach him what's important in life or whatever, because I'm not old enough to be an 18-year-old's dad. It's weird, but I was a high school teacher until pretty recently, so I kind of have that muscle in me. It's pretty practiced, but yeah, I'm looking for serious conversations, and I feel like today's gonna be one of those days where I'm just not about the silliness, Maybe I'm in a serious mood today. Sam sent $5 on YouTube super chat to say, anybody else in the chat love due process? I'm a big fan of due process. I wrote a song about due process a long time ago. It's on my YouTube somewhere. People are like, where's your original music? I'm like, just scroll. It's in there. Like, I haven't recorded any music, like, professionally. But there's lots of videos of me just like singing random ass songs I've written, sitting on the floor, tootling. But I do have more freedom in my life these days because enough people donate money to the show that I got to hire Raven, who's doing timestamps right now, and Jessie, who's busy because she has a show tonight with her band Sensing Agony. Go listen to them. Link in the description. I updated the description to include some more information about the staff and stuff like that. Their links that they wanted in the description are there, so you can go check those out. But yeah, I have more time and space to like practice. I'm trying to get back into a more serious practice routine, just to get back in fighting shape as a musician, because I've definitely been slacking. I did some music on the show yesterday. Yesterday's episode did get copyright struck. I don't care. Mountain Goats can have my money. Because I had somebody call in and they asked me if I know the Mountain Goats, and I was like, yes, I know the Mountain Goats. How lovely. But I performed badly because I'm out of practice. And I want to do music on the show, like to close out. I can't do it at the beginning because it'll tank the viewership. It's just like bad for the algorithm to like have people run away because they see music, which is fine. But there's some technical challenges with doing music on a live stream that's split between TikTok and YouTube. And then there's also just like the performance challenge of starting, like, I would ideally have like 2 minutes to yell to warm up my voice like before I perform. It's like the sort of thing you do in a green room. Or a dressing room, backstage, whatever. I can't do that if I'm sitting here talking for 2 or 4 hours. But I do want to do more music on the show. People want to hear it. Scout, you're being so sweet. But that's it, man. Where the fuck are the Trump supporters? Is Callsign Fatal Mistake a Trump supporter? I hope so. I want to have a conversation. I've heard the guy allegedly...
What's good?
Excuse me, I was talking. Allegedly, the guy's popular, and I'm just having trouble finding people who actually take him seriously at all. How old are you?
I'm 20.
Okay. You support Trump?
Yes and no, I'd say, would be the best answer.
Well, so just to I have a particular way I like to clarify that. Are you happy that he's president, or are you sitting here wishing that Kamala Harris won the election?
Oh, I'm happy he's president over Kamala.
Okay, that makes you a Trump supporter.
Well, I mean, I could tell you about 10 different people I'd prefer over him.
Right, but I mean, but in terms of like the options in front of us, it means that when you like I don't know if you were old enough to vote for him. You said
I was. I voted in the last election.
Right, so you don't regret your vote. So the way that I define a Trump supporter, you're a Trump supporter, which is that.
Okay, by your definition, I'm a Trump supporter. Okay.
Right, because I think it's utterly silly that you think he was a better choice than Kamala Harris. Why do you think that?
Well, my biggest complaints with him are on foreign policy. So. And based on the fact that both him and Kamala were bought out by Israel, the resulting foreign policies would have been the same. And
I don't think the same is accurate. I think they both would have been bad. I agree with that. I think it's fair to say that the establishment Democrats have been bought out by Israel. Sure, totally, fine.
Both sides have been bought out by Israel.
Yes, the Republicans and the establishment Democrats, but not people farther left of them.
Not people farther right either. I mean, look at Nick Fuentes. Look at James Fishbach.
Is Nick Fuentes a politician?
No, but James Fishbach is.
Okay, so great. You can find a counterexample. Cool. It sounds like we both don't like Israel. That's good. I think the same is ridiculous. I don't think that Kamala Harris would have started a war in Iran.
Maybe not. I'm not going to be able to tell you. You know, I can't look at what could have been. It's kind of hard.
Yeah, I don't think it was likely.
I give it 50-50 if I had to put a number to it, but you know.
Okay, 50-50 is better than 100%, isn't it?
Well, I don't think Trump was 100%. And
he 100% did start a war in Iran.
Well, no. I'm saying
absolutely happened.
I'm talking about like when I went to cast my vote, I would not have put 100% chance on a war with Iran for Trump.
Well, but we're speaking with the clarity of hindsight.
The war in Iran is bad.
Yeah,
I think we can both agree on that.
Great. That's good. It sounds to me like we have some disagreements about certain things about foreign policy, but I think that you are unhappy enough with the performance of both sides on foreign policy that I think the important question is to ask, why do you think that Donald Trump's domestic policy is so good that it makes him a better candidate than Kamala Harris? That to me also seems quite ridiculous.
Kamala would have let more illegals in. Trump is getting them out. Now we can argue over the ethics of how he's getting them out.
We're gonna.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it is a overall good that we are getting.
I want to talk about
out of our country.
Chat beat me to it. I want to talk about when you say let. What does it mean for a president to let
to neglect the problem and let it continue?
Okay, if you were at work and your house got broken into, would I say that you let your house get robbed? Would that be a fair thing for me to say? Would that be a fair way for me to talk about what happened?
No, but that's not a fair comparison to what
so somebody committing a crime while you're not physically present, that there are enforcement mechanisms against like locked doors and police officers and that sort of thing. I shouldn't blame you for letting that happen?
No.
Okay, so explain to me why we should blame Biden for the illegal immigrants that came into the country during his term, and why we should have blamed Kamala Harris for the illegal immigrants that could have come into the country during her term if she'd been elected. Explain that to me.
So, well, the reason that Biden should take the blame for the illegals is he immediately stopped border wall construction. Immediately cut down budget for the border patrol.
Do you think that the wall was a practical solution?
That combined with other things, yes.
That combined with other
things. A lot of countries have them.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, he was putting money into the border patrol.
Are we building the wall now?
No, and I think that's a fatal mistake.
Okay, so let's not talk about the wall anymore, because Trump isn't building it either. He has also realized it is a stupid project.
Well, I think it's a smart project, but either way.
Okay, but we are talking about your support for Trump, and he agrees with me that it's a stupid project.
I think it's more like he has bigger issues because Daddy Yahoo keeps telling him to do shit. But yeah. Okay, we won't talk about the wall then, but ice.
I just don't think it's
Since
fair.
You have a fuck ice in the flag in the background.
Well, right, we're getting there because you said we're going to talk about the ethics of how we're doing immigration policy, but I just don't. I always stop at that let thing because I can understand that you can say something like, "I wish Biden had done more to prevent so many illegal immigrants coming into the country during his term."
Well, he cut the budget.
I don't have a problem. There was border policy that he pushed that had bipartisan support that Trump shot down because it had Biden's name on it, and I don't accept the argument that he didn't try. Trump stopped him from being able to be successful in the things you were sitting.
He was president. Trump wasn't president.
Trump wasn't. Yeah, but Trump is still the leader of the Republican Party. He can put out a Truth Social that says, "Hey, Republicans vote this bill down," and they'll do it. So he did that, and that happened.
Right. I guess, but at
I don't
the
guess.
same
That's
time,
what. No, I don't know off the top of my head if it was a Truth Social, but that is what happened. He instructed the Republicans in Congress to vote against the bill, and they did. It's not I guess. It's not maybe. That is what happened. So when you say that, Biden didn't do any,
if you're going to present that as a truth, I would like to see where you're getting your information because I don't know it off the top of my head.
Okay,
I'm not gonna.
Yeah. What was the name of the bill? Was it the Langford bill? Langford bill.
Because I mean, I don't look at I don't have the ability to just off the top of my head know these things. So I just want to see what you're referencing, if you don't mind.
It's the Langford bill. Lankford. You don't really need a source. Like I'm not like giving you a fucking CNN talking point. You can go find this like.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm doing.
There's a page on Senate Langford.senate.gov called "Securing Our Southern Border" that describes that policy. And yeah, you can go look at the voting
Langford
record.
bill.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I mean, you can
2024.
I don't know if you're gonna sit here and read the whole thing.
I'm not gonna read the whole thing. I'm just kind of getting an overview here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. And you said he posted something?
I don't remember the mechanism by which Trump instructed Republicans not to vote for this, but that's what happened.
Demands.
It could have been, yeah. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So I'm just reading from the Google AI, which Yeah. But Donald Trump strongly opposed the 2024 bipartisan Senate border security bill. Yeah. I mean, that's probably where I would say Trump was wrong.
Okay,
I'll agree with that.
But what's important here is that you were wrong because you got down this avenue about saying that Biden didn't try. I forget exactly how you said it, but your concern was that Biden didn't.
He neglected the problem.
Neglected the problem. But so when you true or false, Biden neglected the problem.
True.
Okay.
Sure.
Why do you think that in consideration?
Because also that was proposed by a Republican senator.
Yeah, it was a bipartisan bill. It had bipartisan support. It had support from Biden. Yeah. That's a win.
Right.
The fact that Biden supported a bill that was authored by a Republican, that's a win in American politics. For a Democratic president to support a Republican's bill. That's a sign of cooperation.
I'm aware.
Right. So again, I just don't understand how when you say that he neglected the problem, what are you talking about?
Well, clearly he didn't do something right because he let 10 million illegals in.
You want to talk about that?
Sure.
Okay. Are you aware of what caused the spike in immigration in the second half of Biden's term as president? Like just why did so many people come here illegally? What happened?
You tell me. I'm not.
Well, I guess I will. I will tell you because I know the answer. But my problem here, just if we take a step back from exactly where we are on the subject matter, is that you came in you had this thing about foreign policy, which okay, America's pretty evil on the foreign stage. I agree with the leftists on that one. Support for Israel, bad. Iran war, bad. Cool. We agree on that. And then we come to this thing about immigration. You kind of come out swinging. Kamala Harris would have let so many illegals in, whatever. And you're not even familiar with the facts of what happened. You're not even aware of the fact that more wall was built under Biden. You're not even, you didn't you brought up the wall when Trump, as the current sitting president, isn't building the wall. You said that Biden didn't do anything about it when he tried. You just didn't know because Fox News doesn't fucking talk about this shit. Well, I don't know what you watch, but so great. So we can. I'll tell you why I believe so many illegal immigrants came into the country in the second half of Biden's term. But can I just why the hell do you think you know anything about this topic at all when you're not even aware of the legislative attempts to address it from as recently as 2024?
Well, I was in high school still. At that point, I'll keep it a buck.
Hey man, I'll give you the fucking bone on that one. I talk to a lot of young callers. It's kind of my specialty because I just retired from being a high school teacher to run this show. So that's fine. That's a totally acceptable answer as to why you're not aware about that. I really don't jump on people for ignorance. What I will jump on people for, and what I'm jumping on you for a little bit right now, is coming in here with confidence that's undeserved because you have that ignorance. You're rather indignant about this topic, and you don't even know the most basic facts that qualify a person to talk about this topic.
Well, I never said I'm the most qualified person to talk about it.
I'm not saying that you came in here bragging. But you came in here with a confidence that suggests to me this is definitely a person who knows the Langford bill. This is definitely a person who knows why there's so many illegal immigrants in the country.
I was taught by my parents to say things with my chest, so. If you say it with your chest.
No, dude, here's the problem. If you say everything with your chest, people don't take you seriously. You got to say important things with your chest. If I said everything, I say some things with my chest on this show, it gets heated on here sometimes. And if I was like that all the time, people wouldn't take me so seriously. When I have a big crash out, when I get yelling on here, people think, oh my God, Oscar's yelling. What did the caller do? So yeah, I would say, it's hard to tell people not to listen to the advice of their parents, but I do think that that's foolish advice. I don't think you should say everything with your chest. I think you should, I think that being a really successful person, one of the most important things about it is taking a step back from that sort of confidence when you aren't educated about a topic. Because if you don't, you'll never get educated about that topic, and you'll continue to be confident about convictions that don't have good foundations. And here we are. I'm basically just saying you came in here with convictions that suggested to me there were foundations, but you don't have the most basic foundational knowledge about this subject matter. So the question then becomes, before we get back to what we got sidetracked from, which is why the illegal immigrants came in during Biden's term, I do want to talk about that, but I just have to ask, how are you so passionate about this topic without knowing any details about it? How did that happen to you?
Well, that'd be because one of my friends was killed by an illegal.
That's really fucking terrible. I'm really sorry that happened to you. It's really hard to do this thing that I think is really important in kind of the same vein of what I was just talking about, which is to know that no matter how personal something is to you, it doesn't change what a reasonable conclusion about that thing is. I'm a 9/11 victim. Those fuckers tried to kill my dad. I would argue they succeeded. He drank himself to death about it. But I'm not mad at the Middle East. I'm not mad at most of the people in the Middle East. Most of the people in the Middle East are just trying to work their jobs and raise their families. I'm not excited about us sending planes and bombs over there because I can use the reasonable part of my brain to look at the war on terror and say, this is just more bad shit happening. This is more people who don't have their fathers. This is more people facing hardship. This is more people watching buildings collapse in the cities they live in. I don't like that. The part of me that's angry about what happened, I can bottle it up into a more reasonable position and say that can drive my passion. I can say that I want to address that problem. I think that religious zealotry is really dangerous. I think religious fundamentalism is really what caused 9/11. I don't think it's specific to Islam, that type of danger. Like, I can be reasonable about it and say, I don't want these types of things to happen in the world. And the conclusion that I get, if I'm reasonable about it, isn't that we should go after the Muslims. It's not that we should, like, go after some particular country where, like, maybe the government of that country isn't even responsible for it because it's a terrorist group that operated in that country. Like, I can look at that as a really difficult problem and say that it's like hard to avoid that sort of bloodshed, but I just know that if I let myself get angry about what happened to me when I was a little kid, and I get angry about the fact that I have to carry around this asthma inhaler because I inhaled a bunch of fucking cement dust and bone dust and asbestos and shit, like if I just let myself get angry about it, it's just not a good way to come up with conclusions. So I'm really fucking sorry to hear that something happened to your friend. But in just the same way as I think that I should bottle up my anger and point it at religious zealotry of all kinds, instead of some particular detail about the guys who tried to kill my dad, I can say to you that if your friend was killed by an illegal immigrant, I think it's violent crime you should be concerned about, not immigrants. I think
yes, but also
in the same way that it's, well, the question, that's an interesting thing you just said, because I think it's wrong what you just said. You said it goes hand in hand, and I think that is empirically false. I think that if you look candidly at data about crime statistics, if you study what an illegal immigrant is likely to do with their time in America when they get here, I think you'll find that if you're concerned about murderers, they're the wrong group to go after. So I'll ask a question I asked earlier. What got you so convinced those things go hand in hand?
Well, the big thing was the person who killed my friend was an illegal immigrant from Mexico, and they were one of the cartel members that was traveling back and forth, and they were doing human trafficking and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And when my friend put up a fight, he got killed.
That type of criminal, the person you just described, I'm awfully concerned about those sorts of people. Cartel members, big problem. Like, if we're gonna talk about groups of people, you called in talking about illegal immigrants, and my concern is that if you draw a circle around the 12 million illegal immigrants in this country, you don't find a high concentration of murderers in it. In fact, you find a lower concentration of murderers in it. And if we're going to try to look at a particular group,
well, I never said that every illegal immigrant is a violent criminal. I'm saying the problem of illegal immigration goes hand in hand with violent crime. I'm not saying that every person who comes in here through illegal immigration.
I don't think you say. Yeah. I didn't think that's where you were going. And I'm sure you understand that lots of illegal immigrants are otherwise law-abiding, normal, chill people.
Right.
But what I'm saying is that if you're concerned about what happened to your friend, which you should be, that's fucking terrible. If you want to turn that anger and grief into something productive, like, I think what you want is for that to not happen anymore. Like, you want those sorts of deaths to become less common, right? Like, that's, if we're just going to speak candidly about what you want, it's less of that, right? Like, you got. So, well, I'm just saying that fundamentally the goal is to have an experience like yours happen less. You had a friend killed by a dangerous criminal. We want that to happen less. And what I'm sitting here to argue with you is that going after the illegal immigrants in any sort of way that the Republicans are suggesting is just not an effective way to sort out those sorts of crimes. It's being demonstrated to not be very effective. We're far enough into Trump's term that we can see the data is they're not doing a very good job of catching those dangerous criminals. And my concern is that there are some ulterior motives. I don't actually think that Trump cares about what happened to you and your friend. I really don't think he cares. I think he has. I
personally, if you don't mind, real quick.
Sure.
I try not to concern myself with people's motives. I care more about what they're doing. I'm sure there's ulterior motives. Not that would not shock me in the slightest. But if he's getting them out, he's getting them out. I don't care why.
I like that we're getting back to these core things, because what you just said, just caring about what somebody's doing and not caring about their motives, that's also really bad advice. I really want to take a step back from the conversation and urge you not to think about people that way. That's a really dangerous way to think about
I think about politicians that way, because every politician lies and deceits. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, this one's being truthful, this one's lying.
Right.
They're all
right.
lying.
But if you want,
it's a matter of what they're doing.
I can accept that truth. I would say that I would maybe adjust it and say that honest politicians are amazingly rare, is what I would say. Because there's a lot of politicians. There's like, if we count lower, like city level, like city council level politicians, there's like tens of thousands of politicians in this country. Some of them are good people, I'm sure. But yeah, mostly, like, I agree with you, but I still think that the advice is bad, because even if you recognize that they're liars and cheats, you should therefore even be more concerned with what their actual motivations are, because that gives you better predictive power of what is actually going to happen when they're in control, if you understand what their motivations are. Whereas if you don't understand what their motivations are and you only look at what they're doing, you might fall for a carefully laid trap where they say, if I do this, voters like Callsign, Fatal Mistake will vote for me because they see what I'm doing without consideration for what my deeper motivations are. So by thinking that that's important, you're really letting yourself fall for the trap that those sorts of politicians lay.
Yeah, and I get that, but because from my perspective of someone that most of the things that they're gonna do don't have an immediate effect on me, and their master plan, or what they're doing in the background, their ulterior motives. That's a different
approach to the question, because
the issue is, when it comes to minimum, this is how I look at the illegal immigration side. I'm sure, call it led by emotion, whatever you want. I saw what happened to my friend. I hear things said all over the place about the crime and the death that the illegal immigration problem brings. And I say, do I really care how they do it if it gets done? And a part of me says, I really don't. Now, obviously, do I want, human rights violations and whatnot to happen? No. But, there's the part of me that just says, if it gets the job done, it gets the job done. Do I really care why they did it?
Right. But the job you care most about getting done here is preventing things like what happened to your friend who was killed by a cartel member. And if you don't understand the motivations of the people that you're voting for, you're not going to be able to predict if they're going to do a good job at that. And we are in a situation where Trump, by the numbers, is not doing a very good job of catching the sort of people who killed your friend.
That I would agree with. I think he should be doing a lot more.
So my position is that because I've spent a lot of my adult life trying to understand Donald Trump's motivations and the motivations of the people in power around him. I've been studying it since I was about your age, because it was about your age that Trump entered American politics. You're freshly 18, or did you say you were 20?
I'm 20.
20, yeah.
I was 18 when I voted.
I was exactly your age when Trump entered American politics, something like 11 years ago. And I've spent 10 years trying to understand why he behaves in the way that he behaves, why he appoints the people he appoints, why he pushes for the laws he pushes for, why he makes particular illegal missteps here and there. I've worked very hard to understand that. And it is because of that understanding I have developed about him, which is not perfect, because he's a chaotic, difficult to understand person, is that when I saw that he was elected, I thought, damn it, a couple years into this thing, there's going to be some bad shit happening. I bet some of my neighbors are going to die because he fucking hates my city. I was right about that. And I was right about the fact that he's not doing a very good job going after the sort of people who harmed your friend. So I'm sitting here telling you that my strategy is better than yours. I understood the man instead of just listening to what he said and taking it on face value. And because of that, I'm not actually very surprised by any of the things that I'm seeing during his second term. In fact, a lot of the people in my life who've been convinced that I'm the voice of reason and it's part of the reason why I started running this show, is because I had such good predictive capability of what Trump's administration was going to be like, that after months of hearing me yap about it, my friends are coming back to me and being like, I cannot believe how accurately you predicted what all is going on here. I cannot believe how accurately you predicted the list of cities into which Trump might send federal agents en masse, whether they be National Guardsmen or ICE agents or whatever. So it's that predictive capability that I think is so lacking from the perspective you offer, is that if you want there to be less crime, if you want there to be less murders, I think you and I are very much on the same page about that. But I just recognize that I shouldn't let myself be subject to the pageantry of the politics. I should become a person who's able to predict what's going to happen in politics if certain people are elected. And that's how you make the wisest voting decisions. And I saw all of this coming and thought, I don't want that. And, this is just immigration that we're talking about. There's a dozen other avenues through which I felt the same way about Trump, which is why it piles up to me really despising the guy. But again, I don't need to talk about any of those particular details when I'm talking to somebody like you, because it seems to me like at your most basic set of rules for assessing who you should vote for are ones that are going to lead you to vote for people who've tricked you into voting for them, not people that are going to do anything that's in your best interest or the best interest of the country. And that's why we're in a situation where you're sitting here defending Trump, who's not helping. He's not making the state of affairs better. I ask people all the time on this show, show me something he's making better. Like the bank accounts of billionaires, he is making the stock market better. He's giving billionaires some tools that allow them to run their businesses in ways that make those numbers bigger, but those numbers don't affect your quality of life or mine. The employment statistics do, the wage statistics do, the cost of gasoline does, the cost of the core basket of goods do, the cost of groceries does, the cost of housing, all these things that are so important to what you're staring down the barrel of. I just did my 20s. You're about to. And the math equation of how difficult your life is going to be based on what's left over after you spend your paycheck on rent and food, I'm so worried for people your age, because it was so much better 10 years ago when I was your age, but it was still really hard. I wasn't impervious to difficult things happening. I had some rough years of financial instability through my 20s because that equation left very little meat on the bone for me to have a safe, secure life. So when some bad things happened, I didn't have room to protect myself from that. And those are the sorts of things I care about in politics. Those are the ways we measure the performance of a president. Those are the ways that we measure the economy if we're concerned about everyday people like you and me instead of just rich people. So I just worry that your perspective is one that you'll have these. We agree that politicians are across the board generally grifters. I just recognize the grift they're playing and say, okay, this team is doing things that are in favor of this group. This team is doing things that are in favor of that group. I can look at that top down, whereas you're listening to the team that most effectively controls the media, most effectively schmoozes with the billionaires who are in charge of most of the economy in terms of what really matters, like the wage that Amazon pays, the wage that Walmart pays. Walmart has so many employees, and a bunch of them can't pay their fucking bills and they're on food stamps. That's the sort of thing that there's political influence over. So why are you buying the bullshit? Why are you listening to a man who, why are you calling in and telling me that you want Trump to build the wall that he's not building? And we will get back to why we've gotten very lost, but we will get back to why the illegal immigrants came in during Biden's term. I'm sitting on that. We'll get back to
the wall would be nice. I think it would help. As I said, I think, he's getting orders from elsewhere that's pulling his attention away, which is also why I think that we haven't ramped up ICE raids, we haven't ramped up border patrol. But I don't, as I said, I'm hot and cold on Trump. There's certain policies I don't like about him. When it comes to the border, it's more of a personal issue that I have when it comes to getting rid of illegal immigration, getting rid of all this. Now, I will say, do I think that all the illegals should be kicked out? I'm going to say no.
Hold on. We're not back to immigration yet, because you've. I
thought that's what we were getting back to.
We are going to get back there. What is the use of us talking about a topic like that when there's this greater problem of the way that you interact with your politicians and your choice as now an eligible voter? I don't think there's anything I could tell you about immigration. Even if I got you really reasonable on the topic, it sounds to me like you listen to the things that politicians tell you. You said you listen to Nick Fuentes, so you listen to people like him. he can, he's a bastion for what's happening on the right in a lot of ways. He wants to promote the sort of lies that the grifters on the right are telling, and there are some grifters on the left. Like the establishment Democrats are a bunch of bastards too. Like, we agree on that. That's common ground. But if you're not interested in understanding the motivations of the politicians that you vote for, what's the use in even discussing what their immigration policy is?
I mean, I have interest in it. It was only on the topic of immigration that I kind of lose interest in the reasons why, because I just want what happened to my friend to not happen again. So, and that's
where we got a little lost, because what we found is that Trump is not doing anything very effectively to help that issue of what happened to your friend. Like, you're upset about that, and that's reasonable, but what I want you to do is take that upset and fury and grief and anger about that and turn it into something constructive. And the right is leveraging the fact that there are people like you who are very concerned about that type of crime, and they're lying to you. They're lying through their teeth that they're also concerned about those sorts of crimes, because I really believe there's good evidence that the Republicans don't give a shit about you or your friend. So you're saying, oh yeah, they're upset about the illegal immigrants. But with a historical perspective, you'll see that the people who throughout history have developed the sort of power structure that the Republicans have right now, where they're like taking a little bit more control of the government than they're supposed to be able to, if we listen to the rules of the checks and balances in the Constitution. When you see in history when people do that, there's a particular strategy they use to keep the public in favor of what they're doing, even if what they're doing is really obviously by the numbers against the interests of those people. And it's that they take the problems of society, whatever's going wrong, maybe it's their fault what's going wrong, maybe the billionaires are the reason the economy's bad, the reason the wages are out of whack with how fast grocery prices are increasing, the reason that the equation that you're going to have to settle every month to get your bills paid as you live through your 20s, like they take those things that are bad about society and they find a group of people that it is easy to blame. And throughout history, it's been really easy to pick a group, because in the past, people were even more backwards and xenophobic than they are now. So you just pick a group, I don't know, pick a skin color, blame them. People will fucking buy it. That's an oversimplification, but that's basically what happened in Nazi Germany. Hitler had a plan. He wanted world domination in the same way that a cartoon supervillain might. And the reason he got so close to achieving it, certainly in the Western world, is because a lot of people were convinced that he wasn't the problem. A lot of people were convinced that the Jew was the problem. I don't think I need to tell you what happens next there, but I need to tell you that we got to be concerned about what happens next now, because it's not, people. Ironically enough, it's definitely not it's definitely not Jewish people that the Republicans are using as their scapegoat. There's been a little bit of a flip on that one, but it is the immigrant. Because when we talk about the things that the immigrant is doing to society, when we hear Republicans talk about the immigrant, the things that they blame them for are often just the things that the billionaires who are buying these politicians are responsible for, in the way that I just said. They control the companies. The billionaires decide what the wages are at Walmart. The billionaires pay for the politicians to vote for this or that bill, to change tax structures so that Walmart can keep fucking people over like that. And they blame the immigrant, and they want to go after the immigrant for things like high crime and destroying the economy, even though most of the crime that people are concerned about is driven up by the economy being bad, and the economy's bad because of the billionaires. And as I said earlier, if you're actually looking for dangerous, violent criminals, you can find them underrepresented among illegal immigrants, except for some, like the dangerous criminals that there are among that cohort, of the sort that murdered your friend, are people that I'm really, really concerned about, that I think we should be putting a lot of attention on with law enforcement. But we're not putting very much attention on them with law enforcement, because that attention is divided up across 12 million people, these illegal immigrants in the country, who it mostly doesn't benefit anybody if we deport. Like, you can say they broke a rule, and that, like, if you care so much about rules, like, rules are important. I think that's a perfectly good thing to say generally, but we also have to ask if a rule is a good one when we have a situation like this where, like, I want the murderer of the sort that killed your friend to be caught, but if the guy who's supposed to apprehend that person is busy, snatching people out of cars who are driving to work, is that a good use of that person's time?
No, I agree on that. I think we should be targeting the
So I want you
violent criminals first.
I really want.
But that's not at the complete exclusion of those who came here illegally. Now, can there be an option for them to stay if they, pay back taxes or whatever? So that way, the drain that they put on the American taxpayer is
you're getting away. We can talk about their effect on the economy in a second. For everybody in the chat, I am speaking a little quieter today because I'm tired. I am fucking with my volume stuff. I think the caller is a little louder than usual for some reason. Don't worry about it, caller. Just technical note for everybody watching. I'm working on it. I'm watching the levels. I think we're okay on YouTube. The compression is doing its work over there. Okay. I want you to take in what you just said about no, because I essentially just laid out why I think that the Republican sides, like the right half of politics in this country, the approach to immigration that they're taking is shitty if the goal is what you want, which is the person who, the type of criminal that murdered your friend to be apprehended. And you gave a very calm, happy with the answer no. You said, no, that's not a good strategy. That's the whole problem. It sounds like when you said that, you were basically saying that you disagree with Trump on his immigration enforcement policies entirely.
Not entirely, but yeah, on the part.
When you say not entirely, yes. Which part of it do you agree with?
I agree. Basically, the only part that I would agree with would be we should be going after them. We should be going around finding these people and getting them out, specifically the violent crime. Now, he started off saying we would target
the goal. That's the goal.
Right. He started off saying we were going to target the violent criminals first and then expand out. Now, whether it's him just lying out of his ass, which is obviously a possibility, or an inability to be able to just specifically target out the violent criminals without getting others caught in the crossfire. Either way, he hasn't quite stuck to that.
I feel like we're back in talking point land instead of actually talking about what the policies are and what the effect on them.
Well, I don't have the policies on hand. I don't.
All right, so
I've just started getting into politics.
That's great, and that's why I'm being really patient with you. Like I'm not trying to be hard on you about it. I'm just saying that. Like the talking points are really dangerous, the talking points sound great often, oh, we're gonna catch all those dangerous violent criminals. That's great. That sounds great. Make America great again is questionable for me because it's only ever been great for rich white people, but like that sounds great. Let's make America great. Let's make America healthy again. Let's get rid of these dangerous violent criminals. These are all slogans we can get behind, but they're just fucking slogans. And when you get down to the meat and potatoes about what these politicians are doing, I just laid it out, and you happily agreed that their plan was shitty. That their plan is shitty.
Then I'll concede. Maybe I disagree on Trump with the border and the how he's deporting. Because as I said, I'm just getting into it. I don't know all the policies off the top of my head. And the border, yeah, my opinions are more driven by my experiences and with what happened to my friend. So be that as it may, that's sure. I'll concede.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that honesty. A lot of people really get their guard up when they. I don't expect you to hang up your appreciation for Nick Fuentes and change completely. But what I really want most for you is to take a step back from those talking points and really try to understand what the politicians are doing in the way that I described before. Because it sounds to me like if we actually look at what they're doing, you can see that it just doesn't quite make sense, this approach, if you're actually concerned about these things that we should be concerned about, like the economy and the crime rate. So I want to go back to that thing we left behind before, which is why there are so many illegal immigrants that came in during Biden's second term. Are you okay if we jump back there and kind of, in consideration of all this, just get back to where we were?
I'm here to learn, man.
Great. Throughout history, recent history, last few decades, if you look at how much illegal immigration happens, because we can estimate it, right? We can't get it perfectly. The whole point is that a bunch of them are undocumented completely, so we just a lot of them don't get caught in the statistics. But we think most people agree it's about 12 million, and we can look at that number as it's gone up and down over the years. And what drives a lot of people to immigrate to the United States, usually the thing that affects the people who come here, the number of people who come here illegally, doesn't usually have very much to do with what's going on in America. Because compared to the places that they're coming from the perspective of a person who's in a country like El Salvador or Mexico, they look at America, and for the people who are illegally immigrating, usually, we're going to not talk about Trump for a second, in the last few decades, it hasn't mattered who the president was. They still see job opportunity. They still see safety and security. They still see grocery stores that have fresh fruit. They, depending on where they're coming from, depending on what they're running away from in their life, they'll see that life can be good for somebody who's willing to work hard in America, which in a nutshell is what the American dream is supposed to be, right? And that's just been the case regardless of who's in charge here, because for the most part, the government works. The roads get paved, the hospitals stay open, the lights stay on, like the society's broadly functioning, which is why we consider ourselves part of the developed world. There are some areas where we're slacking, but if you look at little spikes where we go, oh, why was there so much illegal immigration in this year? You can look and you can go study the history of where those people came from. Oh yeah, they were mostly from this country. Like the spike, the amount of illegal immigration that was above standard, in this particular year, it was the normal amount from a lot of countries, but there was this particular country where there was a war happening, or there was a particularly unfavorable politician, or there was a famine, or whatever fucking terrible thing was happening in some place in the world, because there's terrible stuff happening everywhere in the world. So you find these little spikes where it's like, oh yeah, the rest of the world had some problems going on, and the symptom of that problem for America is that the amount of illegal immigration increases because a lot of people flee those places. Like, I live in Minneapolis. I have a lot of Somali neighbors. We have the highest Somali population on the planet, other than in Somalia. And it's because it fucking sucks there. It's like, why are there so many Somali Americans in Minnesota? Well, it's because Minnesota has some policies that are favorable to that type of refugee. They like it here. They like our economy. They like our jobs market. We like their food, so we buy it from them, and that means they can open a restaurant. Like, it's a good path. But like, fundamentally, the reason they didn't stay in Somalia is because Somalia fucking sucks. I love my Somali neighbors, but I'm willing to say their country's a shithole because it objectively is. Nasty, horrible war in the 90s, famine, all this terrible stuff. There's a list of countries ranked by HDI, which is Human Development Index. It's like a standard I like to use for assessing the quality of life in places. They're second to last on the planet. It's objectively shitty in Somalia. The reason there are so many Somali Americans is because of Somalia, not because of America. They happen to have chosen Minnesota for the same reason that I did, is that it's lovely here. We ranked third of all 50 states on HDI. They moved from a place with a low HDI to a place with a high HDI. That's what happened. That's obvious. Why would somebody who's living in a war-torn country want to move anywhere but somewhere that has good quality of life? That's what they're after. So this is a really long-winded way of me saying that the motivations of people who illegally immigrate into the United States, they change due to some things that are very much out of our control. And something that was very much out of our control happened just a few years ago. We had a global pandemic. If you look at the first 2 years of Biden's term, there was almost no illegal immigration. I think there was even a couple months where like net migration in total was like 0 or something, just because people weren't moving, people weren't traveling. You were in school when COVID happened. So for you,
I was a freshman in high school.
Yeah. So you missed out on some really important education, by the way, which I'm sitting here being patient with you, and you said you're here to learn, and I love hearing that. But I always like pointing out to the audience that I am talking to somebody who basically didn't do freshman year, or probably much of sophomore after that. Freshman, sophomore. Those 2 years were kind of fucked up. Your teachers who were used to running their classes and the way they ran them suddenly had to maybe figure out how to use technology they weren't good at using. We all had to, that was really bad. And that's where your focus was during COVID. But America, I have my criticisms of how we handled COVID. Trump handled some of it. Biden handled some of it. We made some mistakes along the way, as one does when you're responding to a global emergency. But we are in the front of the pack. If you look at how countries did, we did okay in terms of preventing death and preventing a catastrophic failure of our economy, because we rank so highly on that HDI list. It's associated with those same sorts of things that makes America, like compared to the average country on the planet, a reasonably nice place to live. It's because of that we're in the front of the pack in terms of dealing with these sorts of problems. But a lot of the countries that are lower on the HDI list did not have that. They didn't have ventilators. They didn't have a supply chain that could handle switching over to making a bunch of PPE and whatever's necessary for vaccinations or to manufacture these drugs that are used to treat COVID. So even if you can't like prevent somebody from catching it, you can just keep them alive long enough that their body will heal. Like all these things that we did to do better. There are a lot of countries the world over that didn't handle that problem very well. So when we started having our economic recovery, right after lockdown ended and people started getting vaccinated, and the strains that were common on the planet that weren't as deadly, weren't as disruptive. I've had COVID like 4 times at this point. We're getting to a point where it is very similar to the cold or the flu. That started happening, but there's this buildup of people who, for all the reasons, in all the same ways I just described about the motivations of a person who might decide, all right, the immigration system's too difficult, my application's been pending for years, or I don't even know where to go, I don't speak the language, whatever thing makes it difficult for them to use this very, very broken, difficult to use, slow bureaucratic process for getting into the country. There were so many people who were in a situation where that equation for them and their family thought, okay, we can commit a misdemeanor, and then I can go get a job in America and I can feed you guys. That's what husbands were saying to their wives. That's what mothers were telling to their children. That's what people were just sitting around discussing. We can do it. We can get there. We can get a job. We can get out of this terrible fucking situation, which is what a lot of illegal immigrants think when they make that decision. But a huge number of people made that decision round about 2022 when travel opened back up. And what we saw is that even if Trump had been president, even if Trump had won in 2020 and he had been the president when this was happening, I think you can see based on his performance now that he also would have had a hard time dealing with this flood of illegal immigrants, because it's fair to say that there was a huge burst in illegal immigration in 2022 and 2023 and 2024, that period. Right up until Trump was elected, because we'll get on to maybe in a moment what happened next. But I just think it's fucking silly to say that that's Biden's fault. Do you agree?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, sure. Do I still think he probably could have done a little bit more? Sure. But I mean, I guess, yeah, you can't really blame him for the complete influx.
And when you say he could have done a little bit more, I mean, you could say that about any politician in the past. But my concern is that there's so many people on the right. There's so many people who seem convinced, just thoroughly, that he dropped the ball and didn't try to address it, and that it's his fault that this happened. In some such you shouldn't. If somebody tells you that wouldn't have happened if Trump was president, they don't know what they're talking about. I think I know what I'm talking about. I think if Trump had been president, there probably would have been less, because the reason the immigration rate's so low right now, the reason the illegal immigration rate is so low is because what he's doing is so horrifying and scary that people making that decision don't want to come here. But it's actually a symptom of a really good thing that illegal immigrants want to come here. It's because it fucking rules here compared to where they're coming from. That's a win, that's a symptom of a really good thing if people see opportunity here. But we don't want people to be afraid of our country. That's not a good way to get people to not illegally immigrate to it, if you consider that a problem. And I think Trump would have done some of that stuff. But the demand for residency in America spiked massively because of the most dramatic thing that's happened to the planet since World War II. And I just don't think that's Biden's fault. And I don't think that that saying that Trump could have made the numbers lower by responding more aggressively is all that strong an argument, when the sorts of things that he's doing in order to achieve that sort of outcome are things that you in this call have admitted are unreasonable and shitty and not preventing crime very effectively. So when we talk about Biden letting them in, it's I don't know, he could have mobilized the military to guard the border. That would have been shitty. And that gets us to kind of where we are today, where we have to weigh these things. We have to say okay, straightforwardly, I'm not happy that there's a bunch of illegal immigrants in the country. Those 12 million people, I don't like that we've. I think people should be properly documented. I don't like that illegal immigrants often are faced with another dilemma when they're here, which is that they have to do things like drive a car illegally because you can't get a driver's license usually if you're an illegal immigrant in the vast majority of places in this country. So you're going to drive your car illegally, and maybe you didn't read the driving manual for that reason, so you're a danger on the road. Like, there's these little symptoms of having undocumented people in your country, and there's ways in which that's bad. But the enforcement mechanisms don't make sense in consideration of those things, because we could just fucking give them driver's licenses to make that particular example go away. That'd be a form of giving them documentation. What I want from most of those people is to just let them stay. Say, hey, immigration system's been very broken. We need to handle immigration differently, obviously, because we all agree that the immigration is not a functional state of affairs. We have 12 million illegal immigrants. I've never seen a person on the left saying, yes, yay, illegal immigrants, please come in, sneak into our country, don't get your no, like, nobody wants that. Like, we have a problem to fix, which means that we all want change. Maybe we need drastic change. Maybe the solution is going to be expensive. Maybe the solution is going to be disruptive. Like we can do something dramatic. I'm not saying that the approach to immigration, like maybe it should be a huge thing. Maybe it should be a big deal what we do about immigration. And it would be a really big deal to give most of those people amnesty, drastically change the way we handle it at the border, so that we don't just have the problem like again in 10 or 20 years when more of them come in. And when people offer solutions that are different than that one, I just ask why. Like, you're not helping people not get murdered. The cartel member doesn't give a shit about anything I just said. He's going to keep coming here and murdering people, regardless of what the fucking policies are, right? We're not talking about him when we talk about amnesty, right?
Right.
I want police officers to catch murderers. I don't care where they came from.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So that, I mean, and that's without even getting to the fact that the ways that these policies are being enforced is like dangerous and shitty. I mentioned I live in Minneapolis. I got some big personal feelings about immigration enforcement policies and the way that they affect communities, but I don't even need to depend on them to say that this approach is just like stupid on the face of it. And you might wonder, like, why are politicians doing such a stupid thing? Until we go back to that thing that we discussed at the beginning of this call, which is that you should really work to understand the motivations of your politicians. And then we consider again that historical perspective I talked about, which is that it's not at all unusual for politicians who are trying to grab power in the way that the Republicans are right now to find a group to blame for some shit, to get people riled up. And right now it's the immigrant. So this really stupid thing they're doing, where it's like, okay, your friend was murdered by a cartel member. Texas? You live in Texas?
No.
Oh, I don't need to know where you live. I just assumed. You don't live in Minnesota. There aren't many cartel members in Minnesota. So, like, if the problem is violent, dangerous criminals from Mexico, why the fuck did they send 4,000 ICE agents to my neighborhood here in Minneapolis? Like, why would they do that? That's stupid. Why?
Right.
They said it was for Somali daycare fraud. The daycare fraud is not caused by illegal immigrants because it's a subsidies program that you need to be documented to participate in. So there's like different issues. They didn't.
Well, like you said, they're looking for a better place to live, and sometimes that's in states other than the ones on the border. Like, I don't live on a state that has a border with Mexico.
Right. But what I'm saying is that, like, sending a bunch of ICE agents to Minneapolis, of all places, when most of the illegal immigrants are in California, Texas, and Florida, certainly most of the cartel members who are illegal immigrants, who aren't supposed to be here, are in Texas, most of them. Like, it seems utterly stupid to send ICE here unless we consider the motivations of the politician. Can you imagine the sort of motivations that Trump had to send ICE agents here?
Oh, I'm sure intimidation is among them.
So he's using this enforcement mechanism that you're supposed to think is to protect people from having the sort of tragedy that befell your friend, but instead, they're bringing tragedy to my neighborhood. So I wasn't friends with Alex Pretti. I wasn't friends with Renee Good. I didn't know them. Never did learn what Alex Pretti's username was on Signal, because we live in the same neighborhood block. He was in my Signal chat. I found out that he was dead because I was eating breakfast with my girlfriend. And I got a ding on my phone, and I looked at it, because back then a ding on my phone meant it might have been go time to go blow some whistles, yell for people to close their doors because the men from the government with the guns have come to snatch people. So like that is what I looked, and I remember almost verbatim what the message said because it was just such a shock. It said, Glam Doll Donuts on Nicollet Avenue. An observer has been shot. CPR is being performed. More observers requested. I think it said something like that.
Right. Well, I mean, I think that's just this kind of is a. I understand your problem with ICE being up there, but I mean, that would have happened with a local cop as well, because I mean, he had a gun drawn.
I'm sorry. He did not.
I saw the video.
I have done a frame-by-frame analysis of that video on this show dozens of times. The gun that he was carrying was in his back waistband. It never touched his arms. His hands never went back there. He never touched it. That's not what happened. I don't know what you saw, but no. Straightforwardly. I'm gonna say it a little more assertively than I've said most of the things to you. That's bullshit. I don't know who told you that. I don't know what you looked at. I don't know what you saw.
Can you remind me? His name was something Pretti.
Alex Pretti. Pretti.
I'm gonna try and find the video. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It's also like mistaking it with something else.
You could be. Here, you know what? You find something, and maybe we'll look at it together. I'm going to take a moment and read the donations, which this has been such a serious conversation I've been kind of avoiding doing. But you take a moment to find that. Maybe Discord, put it in the operational chat, a good link so we can look at it together, because there's a few angles. So if somebody wants to get that to me while I read the donations, I would appreciate that. And I appreciate everybody's donations, everybody's patience with the donations, because certain types of calls on this show I really don't like to interrupt with donations, and this is one of them. So we'll take a little hiatus here, and then we'll talk about Alex Pretti. Thank you, Darius, for the $5. Darius said, my stepbrother was killed by a white person in a car accident. She purposely ran him over, reversed the car over his corpse. I'm also a distant relative of Emmett Till. So am I justified to hate white people? Should we deport white people? Caller is a bigot. It's that simple. See, I feel like that came in a while ago, and we've come a ways from there, because I do agree that the caller is exuding some bigotry, to use the language that my sometimes co-host and editor Raven uses, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Leah sent $5 to say hello from St. Paul. Thank you for showing up. Love your show. Thank you, Leah. I appreciate you. David, sent $25 to say, for DZ, let's read the first paragraph of... Oh, and it cut it off. Venmo, what are we doing today? Let's read the first paragraph of the Constitution, and all together, we the people... here, we're gonna read the preamble. We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, ... to secure the blessings of liberty. Oh, look, liberty is a right in the Constitution. Yeah, the Constitution's about liberty. I talk about that a lot. I talk a lot about that preamble these days. Deepa sent $2 to say, hi, me again. Because of you, I picked up a paintbrush after 8 months. Other creators take a more stress-inducing approach, but you engage calmly and encourage critical thinking. That will make real change. Today, the change was for me painting again. Thank you. I'm excited for you, Deepa. Everybody should go find things that make them happy. Joseph sent $5 to me on Venmo to say, hey, Oscar, possible topic. Trump only seems interested in not getting impeached/jailed and his slush fund to pay off J6 brown shirts, while deportation policy being run by psycho Stephen Miller, global bond market freaking out, wondering who's driving the car. Thanks. Appreciate you, Joseph. Yeah, I do think that Trump is mostly just trying to stay out of jail until he dies. That's actually what... when we talk about the motivations of politicians, I actually think that that's like what's going on at heart with him. Lucky Phil sent $5 to say, nice predictions, Nostradamus, with my name in there. The caller said it all with Nick Fuentes, unironically a Hispanic white supremacist who has fond thoughts for Hitler. I hear the caller won't care for your argument because... I fear the caller won't care for your arguments because this won't affect me, so fuck him. We're going to hopefully revisit the fact that he did say that he was unconcerned about things that won't affect him, and that to me is a little concerning. Araxis sent $2 on Cash App to say, America was pretty great when the wealthy paid 70% tax. They did. In 1950, They paid 90% tax. That's how we built the interstates, among other cool things we were working on at the time. Let's hop over to YouTube Super Chat, where lots of donations have come in. Oh my goodness. 709 sent $10 or something. I don't know this currency, so I estimate the conversion. But thank you for the 169 DKK. I really want to call in sometime when it's friendly time, but I don't have TikTok. Really want to talk about a perspective of a minority being young and conservative. Yeah, we are working on getting the phone number set up, so people will be able to call in with just a regular phone number. That is in the works. Trump had to be talked out of the war in his first run. Yeah, thank you, Jazz, for the $2. And then Valera sent 10 New Zealand dollars. Is that? No message, but thank you for the 10 New Zealand dollars. Valera sent five more New Zealand dollars to say Trump made GOP kill. I'm going to mute you, caller, just because there's background noise, but I'll invite you to unmute when I'm done reading the donations. Trump made GOP kill the border bill and then went for several reasons. Make Biden look bad. The bill included military aid for Ukraine. Putin made... Yeah, there were other... Again, we're talking about motivations here. You gotta consider these motivations. Jazz sent $5 to say, ask this caller is 100% a white supremacist neo-Nazi. I do think they're talking about you, but maybe we'll get there. Ask him why he hates Israel. Guaranteed it's blatant anti-Semitic conspiracies, just like Nick Fuentes. Well, we do have a Nick Fuentes listener on the line, but I think we're trying to make him not a Nick Fuentes listener. I think that's maybe the goal here. So I'm going to try to keep my eye on that prize. Metal God sent $5 to say, just wanted to say to caller that I'm so glad he's self-aware enough to know where his trauma is and how it has affected him. Yeah, I think that's admirable. Kronos sent $5 to say, I'm not feeling well. Chat, please stop making me laugh so much. W Mods, what is going on over on the YouTube chat? I've not been paying attention. Tavi sent $5 to say, how many millions of protected lands are you willing to violate in order to complete this border wall? Caller, yeah, there's some logistical challenges to building the wall that, again, if we just look at how these things work, I think the whole thing is kind of stupid, which is why they're not doing it. They're not even trying anymore. Metal God sent $5 again to say, I think former President Andrew Garfield would have loved Sonic the Hedgehog. Elijah used their member message because you get a monthly member message when you're a paid subscriber on YouTube. Early midterm polls are open this weekend in Michigan. If anyone else here is in the mitten and didn't know, yeah, go vote. DeBlues sent $5. GOP Senator Rand Paul, after seeing this, if you call this a good shooting, you aren't watching the video. The man had been disarmed and then shot 10 times. Yeah, so that's Rand Paul's statement on the thing. And I do have footage for us to look at of Alex Pretti. So I know you've probably been... I'm going to invite you to unmute, caller, and I know you've probably been looking, but I will just pull up.
Yep, I was thinking of a different shooting.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
Okay.
Apologies.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, then maybe we don't need to look at it. It is video of a person. I
went through 4 different angles of the footage. No, I was wrong. Right.
So Stephen Miller lied on the television. Stephen Miller said that the man who you just watched all that footage of was a trained assassin sent to cause maximal damage. That's the language he used. Do you think that's a reasonable thing to say about what you saw in those videos?
No.
So let's think about motivations. Why would Stephen Miller say such a thing?
I'm gonna be honest. Remind me who Stephen Miller is.
If you don't know who Stephen Miller is, don't worry about it for now. Google him later. God, what is his title? Is he chief of staff? I mix him up sometimes. There's too many assholes.
Okay. I remember now who that is, yeah.
Yeah.
He's the bald guy.
I was going to say he's the bald vampire-looking guy.
Yeah.
And I normally don't insult people's appearances, but
I mean, it's an accurate description.
Well, I also think he is something of like an evil monster, so I'm willing to call him like a vampire or something. Yeah, because I think that the reason he said that Stephen Miller the reason that Stephen Miller said that he's a trained assassin sent to cause maximal damage is because he wants to make people like you afraid of people like me. Because I'm a lot like Alex Pretti. He died doing what I was spending my days doing, which is why it was so scary for me to watch him get murdered. When I went there that day...
I can see that.
I live a few blocks away from where he was shot, and I wasn't in the neighborhood when it happened. I was having breakfast with my girlfriend, like I said, and when I went there that day, and we kind of know here in Minneapolis, when shit happens, like, just show up, just go there. And you know, we protested. We squared up with the feds, with the police officers. We yelled, made some noise, put some garbage in the street to make, you know, to be disruptive and to show that we're fucking upset about this. The thing that's most upsetting about those killings, like, is that when a federal law enforcement officer kills somebody in a state, there's supposed to be two independent investigations, a state level investigation and a federal investigation, and they're supposed to cooperate with each other in terms of sharing evidence. And quite conspicuously, the federal government refused to give the evidence in those cases that they had to the state level investigators who might charge the officers with what they did, because those people haven't been charged with anything. Not even everybody who was standing in that group who, when they shot Pretti, have been identified. So, like, when I look at what happened to Alex Pretti, I ask, you know, you thought he drew a weapon, which a lot of people say. A lot of people have called in and said that he drew a weapon. I ask, like, what did he do that makes it so that not only does he deserve to die, he deserves to not even have his death investigated? And I really worry about a government is willing to let something like that happen in a state like Minnesota under the guise of protecting you from cartel members. Like, that to me is such an obvious demonstration of the sort of motivations I was talking about, where they want people to be afraid of the immigrant. They want people to think that people like me are unreasonable leftist assassins, you know? Kash Patel, the director of the FBI.
Yeah, well, he's a clown anyway. I don't take anything he says for truth.
Well, you know, according to him, I'm a terrorist for being in that signal chat. According to Trump, I'm a terrorist for being in that signal chat. You know, I'm an accomplice to whatever horrible crime Alex Pretti was committing. But that's just not very reasonable. And it's the most frustrating thing for me about this whole state of affairs is that there's like some big bad out there to deal with, right? Like there's this thing that results in the sort of footage that you just watched, where a guy gets shot 10 times for doing like fucking nothing, like jaywalking. It's like maybe like if we're gonna have a lawyer watch the video and say, what did Alex Pretti do here that was illegal? It's like, I don't know. It's not clear if he'd been ordered out of the street. If he had been, that's jaywalking. I say just don't even have the jurisdiction to like order somebody out of the streets. Like, fuck, you know, like they shot him 10 fucking times. But I spend a lot of time talking to people like you, usually who are far less cooperative in the conversation, to be clear. I do appreciate you being chill. But like your perspective on it is just kind of wrong, you know? Like at every step in this conversation, we just come to a thing where it's like, nah, that's not how that works. That's not what happened. Or like, you know, that's not a reasonable thing to say about so-and-so letting people into the country when there's, you know, really like a global thing that caused this spike during Biden's term. But I guess I just want to like check in with you, like in consideration of all of this. We've been talking for a long time. We've been talking for like an hour. Like, are you still feeling particularly gung-ho about going after the illegal immigrants?
I mean, it depends on. I guess I'd say I'd be more nuanced. I wouldn't say I'm gonna say no. I want them all to stay, but I guess there's as I like said, I'd be more nuanced on said topic. I'd say, you know. I mean, we have all of these surveillance things, which, you know, I have my objections to those as well, but we have a full CIA and FBI full of surveillance equipment. They know when you're sleeping, they know when you're awake. It shouldn't be that difficult to be able to find just the people who are causing crimes outside of just crossing the border and getting those people out while leaving the ones that their only crime is the border crossing themselves. And then going from there and finding the best solution that, you know, for the American taxpayer, for how to go about the ones that haven't done anything wrong since crossing the border.
Yeah. So that sounds mostly reasonable. I don't think that mass surveillance is problematic.
Yeah, I don't like the mass surveillance either,
but
they have it.
They have it. So you're right. So they could be doing a better job, but they're just fucking not for some reason. And you also presented like a little bit of a false dichotomy, because it's not let all of them stay. I just want to clarify, it's let most of them stay, but I think you knew that was my perspective, because there's a big difference between letting them all stay and letting most of them stay.
I got that. I was just kind of take the extreme.
Just got to be careful with the language. It's important to be clear about the sorts of things that we're promoting. So like you said that it's more nuanced, and I agree, it's very nuanced. Like an approach to this, if somebody tells you that this is a simple situation, very simply just deport them all, like again, red flag.
Nothing in government is simple.
Nothing in government is simple. If somebody tells you that it's very simple, they want you to look at it like a simpleton, so you come to the wrong conclusion, because simpletons come to the wrong conclusions about complicated things, and lots of important things are complicated. If these things were simple, we would have solved them a long time ago. Like, we can just admit it's okay that some of these problems are hard to solve. Like, we don't have to blame ourselves for not, like, as a society, for having like difficult, persistent issues in society. Sometimes we do. Sometimes it's like very directly our fault due to some evil or something. But just in general, any growing society, as we all are, it's going to be, there's going to be some shit that's like really hard to figure out. And this is really hard to figure out. Like, what exactly the border policy should be to prevent illegal immigration is going to be really hard to figure out. When I talk about changing the border policies, changing the application process to make
it needs a full overhaul.
Needs a full overhaul. And exactly what those rules are, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm qualified to come up with what they should be. I do have broad conceptions about what it should look like, and they're predicated on my understanding of the effect that these people have on the country. Because do you happen to know the figure? Like, if we're going to look at violent crimes, things like homicides and murders and armed robberies and stuff like that.
I don't happen to know any of those figures off the top of my head.
Yeah. So they did a study in Texas, and they said, you could say like, all right, an illegal immigrant from this study in Texas, are they the same likelihood of committing a crime of that sort as a citizen? Are they 10 times more likely? Are they 10 times less likely? What do you think the number was? I want you to guess.
I honestly couldn't tell you.
Do you think they're more? Do you think the study found them to be more or less dangerous in that way?
I mean, given your quoting, I'm gonna say it's gonna show them less.
2.5 times less, which is dramatic. If we were to take the rate of murders and rapes and other violent crimes in this country and reduce it by 2.5, like say inside of a presidency or something, like that would be incredible. That would be so many fucking lives saved, so much trauma for survivors of those crimes avoided. Like, that would be fucking incredible. It'd be unreasonable to try to get it to zero. We're too big a society. There's always going to be murderers. I would argue that
there's evil people everywhere. Yeah,
it's terrible. Thank you, Emily, for the galaxy. It's terrible, but there's going to, a politician who says I want the murder rate to be zero next year, he's fucking lying to you, right? So 2.5 times lower means that if we're actually concerned about the type of stuff that happened to your friend, which you're very rightfully concerned about, this is just not a reasonable thing to do. We just find ourselves realizing that the approach only makes sense if what we consider the motivations of the people in charge, people like Stephen Miller, people like Donald Trump, and all these characters that Kristi Noem, Bovino, all Homan, all the Kash Patel, who you said yourself as a clown. If you look at their motivations through that historical lens of what are the mechanisms by which people can take control of a democratic society, you gotta trick them into being afraid of a group of people, and you gotta team up against that group of people. And we're doing that with the immigrants. That makes it all make sense. If you look at all these things, you can see it's very silly to send a highly concentrated immigration enforcement effort to Minnesota of all fucking places when we have 3.3 or 4% of the people in the country are illegal immigrants, which is a pretty chunky percentage. We're talking about 12 million people out of 300 and something million people. That is a lot of fucking people. But in Minnesota, it's not 3 or 4%, it's 1%. There's fewer illegal immigrants here per capita than in other places. So and we talked about how it was out of spite or whatever, and it resulted in some really bad things. You just watched the footage of Pretti being killed. it also cost our local economy $600 million is what the mayor's office estimates, because people were closing their businesses because people who have brown skin weren't showing up to work. You know, people were afraid. A lot of my I did ICE observation. I went out there and like got face to face with them. That's kind of how I got my start on social media, was making videos, making fun of ICE agents and yelling at them and shit. But a lot of people around me did the work of like delivering groceries to people who were afraid to leave their homes. Because like even citizens who had brown skin were afraid to leave their home here in Minneapolis and, during Metro Surge. And the greater Twin Cities, metro area, because, it's a city of about 500,000 people. But if you draw a big circle around the two cities that are right next to each other, Minneapolis and St. Paul, and then all the outer-lying suburbs, it's a metropolitan area of 2.5 million people. So we had people hiding in their homes, locking doors they didn't otherwise lock, because it's generally pretty nice here. And, a lot of people don't lock their front door when they're home, but people were locking their fucking doors because these people were coming and snatching people. And even if you were innocent and a citizen or, otherwise like a legal immigrant to the country, like a properly legal immigrant to the country, like they'd still confiscate your phone. They'd still beat the shit out of you. So much violence. Any level of disobedience resulted in beatings. Like what? It sounds like something out of a fucking movie, but I lived it. Feels like it was 100 years ago, but it was in January and February, like it was recently. But for me, like when I think about big, terrible, horrible, scary things that have happened in my life, it's 9/11 and Metro Surge. Nothing else compares. I was here during the Floyd riots when the city burned. 55 structures burned in my city. That was bad. But it wasn't like this. It wasn't dangerous to walk down the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that, and as I said, we can debate the ethics of ICE, because I have my grievances with ICE as well. There are things that they are doing, like the whole masks, so that way, because in my eyes, you're a federal employee, you should be open to scrutiny, because if you work for the people. And there are problems with that, yeah. And I agree that the way we're going about it, the places we're sending them, is not overly effective.
Yeah. So I guess again, I'll pull back from the whole conversation and just like straightforwardly, dude. Why are you listening to Nick Fuentes?
Well, up until recently, I only had Instagram.
I'm on Instagram. Listen to me. That's cheeky. That's cheeky.
My feed went from history straight to Nick Fuentes.
The feed can do that to you. Who controls the feed?
Clearly.
Who controls the feed?
Great question. I assume Instagram.
Yeah. Who owns Instagram?
I don't. That would be Meta, right? Meta. Yeah, that's a Meta company.
Yeah. So who's in charge at Meta?
Mark Zuckerberg.
Who's the most famous important person that Mark Zuckerberg likes to have dinner with and donate money to?
Don't know. I'm gonna be honest. I don't follow him that much.
That would be one Donald J. Trump.
Interesting.
Interesting indeed. Social media really controls the way that people get exposed to the world. Like your worldview might be created by lots of things. It might be created by having good teachers in school. It might be created by what your parents tell you. It might be created by what you see on the television. Like each of us has this perspective about the way that we think the world is, and we take in things. And as an educator, because I've spent most of my life working in education in some capacity or another, the thing that's really concerning to me about what's going on in society is that quietly over the last 10 or 20 years, there's a small number of companies that have, it was quiet at first, but it's gotten very abrupt lately with the advent of certain technologies. It's a small number of companies that have a really powerful influence over the worldview that a person has, that a person develops, if they're not paying very much attention to the way that their worldview develops. Because you can go pick 100 interesting books and read them, and that'll give you a really interesting worldview. Maybe that's geared towards a delicate understanding of like an important subject matter to you. Maybe you're really interested in animals, so most of those books are about biology or something like that. And like that, you can give yourself an information diet that makes you a really interesting person who's knowledgeable about some stuff that's important to you. But if you're not paying attention, if you're not reading those books or whatever it is, learning to play that instrument or watching those documentaries, whatever, if you're not paying attention to that, it's a very small number of companies that will have a really powerful influence over what your worldview is. And one such company is Meta Platforms, because they control what you see next when you scroll. And my job, and the job of the two people I've hired to help run this show, is to swim against the current, because Mark Zuckerberg does not want me to succeed. He wants my money. He wants to run ads on my Instagram page. So that's why I've been able to figure out a way to trick Instagram into showing me to people by being entertaining, so that I get to be platformed and I get to affect more people's worldview in this way that I think is just more reasonable than the one offered by somebody like Nick Fuentes. But the app can take somebody like you and show you Nick Fuentes videos, and maybe they scratch the itch, right? Like whatever you're sitting down to veg out on your phone for, like maybe they give you that dopamine. So you're just thinking, I'm just bored on my phone. Look, this guy's fun. Like listening to him talk. You don't think very hard about it. I don't blame you for not thinking very hard about it. Even if we taught in high school to watch out for this sort of thing, maybe you would have missed that class because COVID deleted your freshman year of high school. I have a lot of compassion for people who don't think about the way that their phone influences their worldview, especially in consideration of the fact that I'm yet another asshole on your phone who's trying to influence your worldview. I'm doing it right. I'm doing it very directly right now. But I'm not telling you to listen to me. Right? At the end of the day, like I've offered you some advice about how you should assess your worldview, but I'm not sitting here like this policy, that policy, this one. I've told you what I want. I want mass amnesty for immigrants. But what I really want from you, like what would be so much a bigger W than a couple of the concessions I've gotten from you about like immigration on this, is for you to look at your phone as this nasty little box that Mark Zuckerberg is trying to use to make you a doofus. That's what the phone is. It's a machine that turns your attention into money for billionaires. And if you don't use it in consideration of that fact, it will trick you into thinking some bullshit like that Trump's immigration policies are good, which upon very cursory inspection, we've discovered them really not to be at all.
Yeah. I joined these lives now that I've gotten TikTok, and I just I was just trying to learn.
That's
trying
great.
to get perspectives.
Yeah.
You said I came out the gate, a little aggressive, I guess would be a way of putting it, but I just it allows for discourse.
Well, yeah. That was one of those little pieces of advice I gave you. I asked you why you were so confident when it didn't seem to me that you're quite so educated on the state of affairs with immigration in America. The recent legislative attempts and all that stuff that we talked about. Because you said that you were taught to basically stand 10 toes down on everything, which maybe makes you appear at a cursory glance to be like some kind of tough guy. But much like with these immigration policies, it doesn't take much inspection beyond the cursory glance to see that that's kind of a weak strategy, is to just be confident in that way, because it leads you into situations where you're confidently incorrect. I am sometimes very confidently incorrect on this show. It happens all the time. Been a little while since I've had like a big oopsie on the air, but I'd say about once every week or two I have a big nasty oopsie where I am just completely fucking wrong about something. And the chat, the show's popular enough now that it's happening less, because the chat is very quick to correct me if I like get something wrong and I'm like basing an argument on a piece of information that's false, or just whatever thing is wrong with what I'm saying. But you don't get a very accurate worldview unless you welcome that sort of correction. And it seems to me like you're perfectly capable of like opening your mind to like new ideas. Like you don't seem to be the brick wall that I spend a lot of time talking to. But it does sound to me it does sound to me like Nick Fuentes has gotten to you in a way that is a result of a lack of care of the sort that I'm talking about for that information diet, about the fact that, like, have you ever wondered to yourself, like, what type of worldview do I want to have when I'm 25? You said you're 20, so like 5 years from now, what do you want to be good at? What do you want to be knowledgeable about?
Well, right now I'm slimming out. I've lost some weight so I can join the military. Because right now that's one of my few options for a career path. I did not do too good in college, mainly because my ability to do homework was nada. Because in high school, when COVID hit, they stopped grading homework. They stopped caring about the homework. So I'm like, all right, cool. I can just ace all the tests and then not do my homework and play video games all day. That turned out to be a fucking mistake. And so I went to college, immediately failed my first semester, and I'm like, all right, well, college isn't working. So I'm right now I'm working as a groundskeeper until I can join the military. I'm given my mental health history, they won't let me do a combat role. So I'm going to go in probably as an electrician for the Army. I can get the knowledge in electrical and go from there. I mean, in 5 years, what do I hope to be knowledgeable in? I mean, electrical, I guess, would be my best.
Well, I might urge you to consider that we need electricians in the private sector as well.
Well, I don't plan on staying in the military.
Sure.
Yeah,
I'm glad.
I'll bring that knowledge to the private sector.
Yeah. I guess I was, in a lot of ways I was right about maybe what education did to you, right? Like, I kind of levied that accusation, and I'm glad that you seem to have spent some time self-reflecting on that. But you said you like video games, and I've been starting to really love this analogy about how my life is a video game, right? Like, it's a difficult video game. Any video game where you only get one chance is a difficult video game. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you only get one life. We're playing Mario or jumping across the platforms, and if you fall down the hole, that's it. Curtains on you. Dunzo. That's pretty fucking scary. But we get to do this cool thing where, like, when you're it's easy in the video games. They make it like simple and fun, where like you just get to like decide the sliders. You're like, I want my character to be strong, but he can't be if he's that strong, or like if he has that much armor, he's not very fast because the armor's heavy, so it makes him slow. You create a class, right? You like do your thing. You like get your loadout for your video game. I like to think about myself a little bit that way, like you talked about fitness. I've let myself get a little leaner in the last year because when it comes to the create, like the create class, like create the character that is Oskar Quentin, like all these sliders, I'm like, used to be too busy slaving for my bills to get so much time in the gym or to be able to eat that much food to get the protein or whatever. So I like focused on running because that was easier with my work schedule. And then this crazy thing happened where I started running this show. So like, I've let my physique, fall behind a little bit because I'm focusing on some other things. But you are in control of that little creative class thing, like the school is meant to give you a good start. School is supposed to make you a person whose sliders are more full when you're 18 so that you get shit out into the adult world as a competent person who has the tools they need to survive. And I've been talking this whole call about how society is going through a thing where people don't necessarily have those tools for a number of reasons. There's like this specific local thing about how education there's a gap in quality of education because of COVID. That's a big deal. There's this thing about how people's information diets are suddenly being controlled by a really small number of people who aren't really like regulated in any way, like so they can just trick you into watching Nick Fuentes videos because they're entertaining, and maybe he's done a better job of making entertaining content than I have because I'm not willing to make content that's entertaining in a way that's dishonest. So again, I'm thinking broad strokes with you because you're young, and I think that you've drank some of this Kool-Aid, but I think that you should.
I appreciate the patience.
there's no other way to be with somebody like you. And I some people are very rightfully upset about young people like you having some of the perspectives that you do, but I just don't think anger is the tool for solving the problem, which is why I'm chill. Because the fact of the matter is, I'm fucking furious that Nick Fuentes is tricking young people like yourself into believing all this bullshit. I'm mad as hell about it. I consider it such a privilege that I get to structure my entire life about being mad about that fucking problem. There's times where fury is the tool. When I'm face to face with an ICE agent, fury is the tool. I yell at them. I make them feel small. You know, even through a slit this big, even through a mask, you can look at the crow's feet next to someone's eyes and know that their feelings are hurt. And I'm perfectly capable of weaponizing my fury about this when I'm faced with somebody who I believe to be truly in their heart evil. I don't think you're evil.
I appreciate that.
A lot of people.
That's what I'm told by a lot of people around me, because I live in a blue state.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people on the left would call you evil. A lot of people in this audience watching would call you evil. A lot of other hosts would call you evil. I think, when I think back on 9/11, which we talked about earlier, and I think about the 19 hijackers who did that, changed the skyline of the city I grew up in a way that we're all told never to forget. I think about them as victims of the same ideology that killed everybody else on that list of 2,996 people who died that day. Because at the end of the day, they grew up with an information diet just like you and me, and theirs turned them into terrorists. Mine turned me into a debate live host. And you're a 20-year-old. I don't think we need to put a label on you. You got a lot in front of you. We don't need to put a label on me. I'm only 31. Maybe I'll go back to being a country musician, which I still am, but on the side. So when I think about those terrorists, I'm not mad at them. Because why would I be? They're kids that grew up being told that what they were doing was right. You know, they got onto that plane thinking they were saving the world. They believed with their heart that they were saving the world. That's not evil. It's foolish. I think it's a bunch of bullshit that they were taught. I think that there are some people involved in training those people who probably knew that that was all bullshit and had ulterior motives, and those people are evil. I think the people in the government who want people to think the way that you think, or maybe the way you thought at the beginning of this call, I think those people are fucking evil. I think those people deserve my fucking ire. But the vast majority of the foot soldiers of evils the world over, whether we're talking about those terrorists, whether we're talking about Nazi officers in World War II, maybe not officers, maybe foot soldiers, you know, we're talking about enlisted men.
I was going to say,
maybe not the officers.
Officers are the evil.
Misspoke there. Maybe not the officers, but yeah, you're on the right track. So when I think about Trump voters, when I think about people who voted for this to happen, I think about them the way I think about the hijackers of the planes on 9/11, which is that I could have been like them if I was born into their shoes, you know? If I had their information diet, if I had their upbringing, if all of that happened to me, I could have been the one who flew those planes into those towers. I was born in fucking New York instead of wherever they were from, somewhere in the Middle East, right? Like, I recognize the privilege it is to have grown up with a worldview that not only made me somebody other than the terrorists who caused 9/11, you know, not only gave me food to eat and a roof to live under and all that, but I was born into a life where I have the incredible privilege of being an adult that now watches very carefully what my information diet is, watches very carefully how I learn things, and watches very carefully where I make my mistakes, you know? So every now and then I believe a rumor. There was a Mitch McConnell photo that got circulated a few weeks ago that I thought was released by his office, but it was generated by AI by a person who generated it to make the point that it is easy to generate convincing Mitch McConnell photos with AI, and it briefly worked on me. I didn't show it on air or anything. I didn't make any big mistakes like that, but I gotta watch the fuck out. And when I make mistakes, because for like 12 hours I thought there was another Mitch McConnell photo out, I look at it and I go, okay, how do I prevent myself from making that sort of mistake in the future? And the fact that I have that reflex to do that is something I'm so fucking thankful for, because because how the fuck else are we going to navigate this situation that we're in if you don't have that particular superpower? That's something that people should see as really valuable. And it really breaks my heart that not very many people consider that at all. That's what I want you to consider as you walk through your life, is like, you've got, you were mistaken about a couple things. I'm not going to blame you for mixing up the Pretti shooting with a different one. But the only broad thing I can put my blame on is that, like, there's this guy on your phone, Nick Fuentes, who's telling you a bunch of stuff. And these people don't have cooperative conversations like this one. It's like really refreshing to get to just sit down and talk about this with somebody who's willing to listen, because I spend a lot of time navigating conversations where people are really disingenuously trying to make the conversation make them look good, regardless of what is the truth. Like, they see it as this like octagon battle where they're trying to like win the debate. Like, it's not about...
The goal is not to win, it's to learn.
Yeah. The truth is the truth. You and me are either going to find it. We can both be winners or we can both be losers. This isn't a zero-sum game, We can figure this shit out together and come to some more reasonable conclusions about what we should do with these problems that we have. We have the economy is not doing so hot for a lot of people. The U.S. military is doing some evil shit, as it has been for decades, including under Democratic control. That needs addressing. The people who are most mad about the fact that the Democrats are also evil, I think, which are like the far leftists, I think a lot of them don't have an approach that's likely to result in the state of affairs being made any better. I think they're right about what they want. I don't think that they're being very reasonable. And I just try to urge people to be more reasonable. Make sure that your assessment of reality is a good one, and try to figure out predictive control of politics, which is what we talked about at the beginning of the call. About how it's very important to understand what the motivations of these people are, because if you know what motivates a person, it's pretty, you can imagine how they'll respond to situations in the future. You can hypothesize about what might happen a few years down the road. I don't pretend to have a lot of confidence about what's going to happen in American politics in the coming years. I'm very concerned about it. There's some very scary stuff I could sit here and fearmonger about, saying that I'm really worried that this is going to happen. I'm really worried that that's going to happen. I brought up Nazi Germany as a comparison, so I think the type of stuff I'm talking about, but I don't really want to, I just don't want to sit here and guess. But I think that the most important thing, the thing that I am so excited to get to participate in, is that I think not enough people think about this broader perspective of like what our information diet is and how we understand what's going on in the world, and whether or not we believe what the politician tells us, or like all of these things. I think people can get better at understanding that about themselves and navigating it in a way that just results in you believing less bullshit. You should, if you find that you believe something that's bullshit, that should be like finding that that should be like a small fire to put out, like if you had a small fire in your house, you'd put it out and then go, oh my God, why was there a small fire in my house? We shouldn't put candles under the curtains anymore. That was what did it. Rule change, no more candles near the curtains, put them over there. Don't leave the room without blowing them out. Whatever, we come up with rules. So people need to come up with better rules for how to navigate the world for themselves, because otherwise your phone is just going to trick you. It's trying to. It wants your attention, for better or for worse. The phone wants your attention, and the guy who's buying your attention might want to do something nefarious with it. So I don't want to overwhelm you. When I have somebody who sits and listens to me for 2 hours and like talks this stuff out with me, I don't want to pile on, because there's a million other things we could talk about. We could talk about the fact that Trump is a truly reprehensible character, that he's done some seriously bad things in his personal life that are, frankly, of the caliber of thing that I consider much of what he's done to be of the caliber of the sort of thing that happened to your friend. The guy's committed some, like, what I consider to be very capital crimes. I just muted you for some background noise. I could go down a big old rabbit hole about that, but again, I just don't want to overwhelm you. But I will kind of pass it back to you and ask, like, after this conversation, How do you feel about Nick Fuentes?
I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm going to take a 180 stance, but, you know, there's things that, you know, everyone's been wrong, or well, rather, Nick has been wrong about, Trump has been wrong about. There's a lot of, you know, sure, I'd say I moved a little bit, but I'm not going to say I still don't have more fond than not opinions on Fuentes. I mean, maybe Trump, I'd say that's different, but, you know, at minimum, I've learned things.
Yeah. If it means anything to you, I think Nick Fuentes is evil. I think he wants your attention in that way. I think that his motives are not. I think that his motives are not to make you wiser. And you just got to watch out for people whose motivations are like that, you know? Like, sometimes it's just entertainment. There are some people who maybe aren't to be taken all that seriously. There's debate hosts who I don't think are doing maybe anything all that problematic, but, like, their shows are just kind of entertainment, you know? Like, this show's often entertainment. This show is often about just, like, making fun videos because I need to do that for the show to be successful. But there's people who that's really all they do. They're not really concerned. You know, there are hosts who'd hang up on a caller like you because they'd look at it and be like, it's not going to be the most entertaining episode for everybody. That's not going to be the highest viewed episode. That's not going to be. I'm not going to get a lot of clips from talking to this guy. But you're the type of caller that I run this show trying to find because you're just a young person who's open-minded enough to maybe see that your perspective on all this needs a little bit of adjustment, and that you need to think more carefully about what you're watching and who you're listening to. Because I believe that somebody like you, like, it puts you so ahead of the pack that you're willing to do that at all. There are so many people who are just a complete brick wall. I have callers your age who think the earth is flat. I have callers your age who tell me that Alex Pretti drew his gun, and when I show them the videos that you just watched, they tell me that they're AI generated. I have callers that tell me that the immigrants are raping and murdering people at a rate we can't even imagine, 10 times greater. And when that question I asked you, is it the same, more or less? Like, what's this factor? It's 2.5 times less, according to that Texas study about illegal immigrants committing violent crimes. Like, I have people who would say it's easily 10 or 100 times more, and there's no convincing them otherwise. They are just a brick wall about certain things. And I think the only thing I was a brick wall with you about today is that, no, Alex Pretti did not draw his gun. I'm confident about that. And part of the reason I can be confident about that is because I know how AI works. And I know I keep up with what AI technology is doing, and I know that the videos are not, you can look at those 4 videos and know that AI is not good enough at creating multi-angle footage of the same event happening and not having there be inconsistencies. AI really struggles with that in particular. It also happened a few blocks away from where I live, and I know some of the people who filmed those videos. But anyway, that's just my own personal thing. So what I'll beg of you before I kick you, so I don't overwhelm you by talking to you for too fucking long.
No, it's all right.
What I'll say is what I want from you. What's your name? Your username is too long. What do I call you?
Carson.
Carson. What I want from Carson is I want you to go back to your life. Leave this weird 2-hour conversations you've had with the strange man with the kitty on the internet. Go back to living your life. Go back to looking at your phone. Go back to thinking about joining the military. Go back to thinking about maybe getting better trained as an electrician. And I just want you to look at the way that you're spending your time. And at the end of every day, when you're laying down for bed, I want you to think about that question about what you're doing with your information diet, what the create a class character for Carson is looking like, which sliders are more full today than they were before. And I want you to actively make decisions that in your future make Carson a cooler character. in ways that are more than just getting a job. You know, I asked you what you wanted when you were 25, and you said that you wanted, you know, you're looking to get a career in the military because you don't see much of another path forward. And we talked about how the education system's failed you a little bit. But, you know, as evil as the internet is, as much as it's trying to trick you into believing a bunch of bullshit, it's an incredible resource. You can become a really, really competent electrician just by watching videos. As I'm sure you're aware, there's licensing and stuff that's important for electricians just for safety reasons. But in terms of but in terms of making sure that when you go through the steps that everybody else goes through, you can be ahead of the class, literally or figuratively. You can go learn about things. You can go study things. You can say that if I'm going to sit down and use my phone for an hour instead of just watching what Instagram is going to show me. Just you can decide that that's an hour that you spend filling some sliders on your creative class. Maybe that means that you watch videos about learning how to become an electrician, or maybe that means that you watch videos about something else that's interesting to you, where you choose your own adventure. Because fundamentally, this is my last thing I'm going to tell you before I conclude with you for the day. The big change that's happened in technology that has really fucked up everybody's information diet is that we no longer choose what's in our information diet. Mark Zuckerberg does, if you're on Instagram, right? How, think about this. In the past, you didn't read a book and then go to the bookstore and just get handed the next book and then read that one, right? Or maybe get through a couple pages of it and say, skip, and then try another one that somebody hands you. You'd go, no, I want to learn about the Middle Ages. So you go to the history section and you read the covers of the books, and you learn about the authors. You go, oh, I've read books by this author before. I learned about the Renaissance from him. I want to learn about the Middle Ages from him because I think that he did a really good job teaching. You choose what your information diet is. But when Instagram serves you a video, it's just deciding the next thing you look at. That's fucking crazy. And we're all doing it. The people watching this show did it to get here, to find me, because I have become an expert on how that system works, and that's why my show is successful, because I have tricked that system into showing me to people instead of fucking Nick Fuentes. But I still want to use my platform to urge people to pay attention to the fact that it's some billionaire somewhere paying a bunch of engineers to write computer programs that most successfully trick you into giving your attention to advertisers and people who want you to have a political perspective that suits their needs instead of yours. Make some decisions about how you spend your time. Don't let a billionaire's technology company do it for you. That's not wise. I think that's pretty self-evidently not wise.
Yeah.
I really appreciate your time on
the conversation.
I appreciate you, Carson. I really do appreciate you for listening. And what I hope is that I hear from you in the future, and we can talk about maybe some of the things about your perspective that you've come to if you do make that small change in the way that you look at how you spend your time.
Yeah. Well, I'll, I don't know, if you pop up on my feed again, I'll pop in.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for your time, Carson.
I appreciate it. Have a good one.
I needed that. I'm tired. I didn't feel like yelling today. Thanks for all the donations, everybody. I know I ignore them when I've got an actually serious conversation happening, but I think as host, that's the right choice. I appreciate that everybody, a lot of people tell me that's the right approach, and I think it is. A lot of the conversations that happen on this show are a means to an end, where the end is that conversation that I just had with Carson. Because, people clocked that he was a groyper early on. What do we do about groypers? Do we tell them to go fuck themselves? Should I have told Carson to go fuck himself? Would I have been justified in telling Carson to go fuck himself? Maybe. Somebody in the chat says just move on already. No. My show. I decide what's important around here. And I think that was an important call, and I really do hope to hear from him again. Evan, thank you for the $5 on Venmo. Evan said, nice job, Oskar. Thank you, Evan. Appreciate you. Leah sent me $5 also to say, I sent Venmo. People know I keep having to refresh these donations twice to read the whole donation message because Venmo's app is broken. Thank you for the $5, Leah. She said, I sent my lighthearted note right before that call went the way it did, and I was crying in my shower, remembering how it felt that day. Thank you for sharing and teaching. I think talking about Pretti. Not even sure which part of that conversation that was about. That's why I'm sad that I get lost in the sauce with the donations when I'm on a big long call like that. Jake Lang is holding a racist protest in Minneapolis August 22nd. Is there a counter protest? Not sure if you know about this. Thank you for the buck. Thank you for the buck, Sarah. Sarah? I don't know how to pronounce your name. I am aware of the N-word march that Jake Lang is throwing in my fucking city, walking distance from where I sit now. Serial, I'll get you in a moment. I will be there. And you will see a different creature than you saw on the show today, because I do have ire and fury for the likes of Jake Lang. He's assaulted my community. He has pepper sprayed my friends. He has laughed at the misfortune of my fallen comrades in this fight against the sort of evil we just spent 2 hours describing with that caller. I don't know what's going to happen that day. I hope there's no violence, but I will be there. A lot of other creators have urged people of color not to attend. I think that might be good advice. I'm not a person of color. Hyatt sent $1 to say, for the cat joining the live, Scout Cam is up on YouTube. Is she on the camera? I need to get better lighting for her spot here, because I have Scout, on TikTok, she's down here in the chat. But on YouTube, I put up a little special cutout camera so everybody can see Scout hanging out and biting my hand when I'm trying to use the computer mouse. Yes, Scout, I shall play with you instead of running my show. One last thing about that Jake Lang rally. I get called a pussy a lot on this show. By people who don't turn on their cameras. I'll be there in person. Because when Nazis announce that they are coming to my city, I show the fuck up. Whether they come here of their own accord under a hateful banner, or whether the president sends them. I suggest you do the same for your communities. Don't like those Nazis. Kate sent $10 to say, the way you were able to explain empathy to that caller by emphasizing the importance of taking motivations into consideration was refreshing to hear. There are so many people who would benefit from hearing your perspective. Thank you for what you do. The caller gave me a lot to work with. We did not cover that he was selfish. He said that the president's policy should benefit him. But gotta pick your battles. Take your time with a call like that. Lucky Phil sent $20 on Buy Me a Coffee to say an extra $20 for Teacher Oscar because teachers are grossly underpaid. And then, before that, I don't think I read the other one. He said, better not say everything with your chest. Better to approach things with humility, rough to know that you don't know everything, and rough to know you don't know everything, and curiosity to learn more. Learn all you can, and then be confident in what you know, rather than what you don't know. I think there was a typo in there that made it a little hard to read, but I very much appreciate Lucky Phil's Buy Me a Coffees. He's the MVP over there with Canadian Vicky. Holy shit. Charissa sent 20 gift memberships. So that's effectively like a big fat donation. That's a huge donation. 20? That's like a triple digit donation. I don't know how much money that is. That's a shitload of money. But that makes 20 more people members on YouTube, which means when I do the evening show tomorrow evening, 7 p.m. Central Time, YouTube only, with a guest, and then I do the members only stream after, and there's 20 more people who get to be in that and just hang out with me while I chill out, have a beer, answer some questions from the chat. So thank you for that. That's huge. I appreciate that. And welcome the 21 people, because in addition to, actually 22 people, because Teresa became a member, made 20 people a member, and then August became a member. So welcome to the 22 of you. Chrono sent $5 to say, I'm off work in 20 minutes. Please say you were going late today. That's the plan. We'll see. We'll see how we go. We're past 2 hours. I considered a moment ago wrapping the show. I was like, do I have the show be just that guy? But no, I think we're gonna have Serial up, and he's a very different type of caller, if I recall correctly. DeBlues sent $2 to say, caller must learn his rights under the GI Bill. I do recommend he does that. The Kenny Boy sent 20 euros to say, this is the sort of advice that young men are desperately crying out for. Kudos to you, Oscar, for having conversations like this. They are so important for people who are still figuring out what they believe. Yeah. You got to teach people how to figure out what to believe instead of teaching people how to believe. I see I missed buy me a coffee. I'll get back to that, Vicky. Thank you for the ping in the Discord, Joey. Anacaniac sent $5 to say, beautiful call. Hope Carson calls again. Yeah, I hope we all hope to hear from Carson again. That's right. Vicky sent me one prior to Lucky Phil. Listening to this conversation about immigrants and all that, while it's literally the Heritage Festival weekend in my city where 60 countries around the world get together and open up pavilions to share their culture and food. Y'all should look it up. It's a mini utopia for 3 days. Thank you, Canadian Vicky. They send a lot of donations over on Buy Me a Coffee and Heritage Festival up in Canada. Alberta, right? If I'm not mistaken. Thank you very much, Canadian Vicky. Man, I'm in such a calm mood. Kronos sent $2 to say, yay, off work and still watching. All right. Let's shake off the hope and get back to the trenches. For $1 on Buy Me a Coffee, Lucky Phil says, here again with typos effect. Okay, wait. I'll read it again. Better to not say everything with your chest. Better to approach things with humility. Enough to know you don't know everything. And curiosity to learn more. Be a sponge. That's the typo that I couldn't understand it. Be a sponge. Learn all you can, then be confident in what you know rather than what you don't know. Yeah, reserve your confidence until you're damn sure that you deserve it. Stay away from that Dunning-Kruger effect of like learning a thing or two and thinking you understand the whole damn thing. There's a bunch of topics I try to really yield to the experts on because there's a bunch of shit I don't understand very well. And that's very important about my worldview, is that it includes an accurate assessment of how good I am at these sorts of things. And sometimes I'm not that good at all. All right. I'm going to shake that off. I'm going to wake up a little bit. We're going to talk to Serial. And I'll invite everybody on TikTok to get double tapping away on the screen, which I don't say that often anymore because the show does pretty well on its own. But if we're changing gears, let's get some new audience members in here. We'll talk to Serial, and we will see if he's a Serial's caller. I don't remember. How old are you?
Hi. Oh, I'm 27.
27. Do you support Trump?
Sure, yeah.
So, I saw you in the chat begging for a debate. What's going on?
Yeah, I support him. He's like he's great. He's the GOAT.
This is Ty, right?
My name's not Ty, no. My name's Kevin.
Turn your camera on.
No, I don't like people like looking at me. Like I have like I'm like comfortable with that.
Yeah, I'm not talking to Ty. Daniel. Let's see if Daniel is gonna be a serious. I should have pretended to not know it was Ty. It would have farmed engagement. The chat is already erupting saying it's Ty. Daniel, how old are you? That's the most dishonest thing I'll do on the show, by the way, is every now and then I do see what the chat is erupting about, but I just sit on it for another 2-3 minutes because it gets us 200 more viewers if I ignore the chat erupting. So if you're in the chat and you see that I'm ignoring you, keep making the chat erupt. We're all working together to make the show successful, and every now and then I play a little prank on the audience where I pretend to not know what they're upset about. And I call it a prank because a prank is everybody gets to laugh when it's over. Like that's a good prank, right? Like you don't want to have mean-spirited pranks where the person who's like the subject of the prank is mad at you when it's over. So yes, I prank the audience into making the show more successful because I'm pretty sure that the people in the audience want the show to be more successful. And the people who don't, fuck them. So I don't care if they feel if you don't want my show to be successful, then get out of the chat because you're helping. Daniel, are you there? I don't think Daniel knows he's on the line. We're gonna talk to Fabrizi. Ellen just sent 5 gift memberships on YouTube. I appreciate that. Thank you, Ellen. And welcome to those 5 people. Larence. Let's talk to Larence. How old are you?
I'm 29.
Are you a Trump supporter?
Absolutely not.
I'll give you 10 seconds before I kick you. What's up?
Have a question.
Sure.
I watch your show. I appreciate you. I just have questions about where you get some of your sources. I like to go to congress.gov or the FEC website to see some of what the politicians are doing or what they're voting on. But I'm having trouble just trying to stay up to date as possible. And I don't want TikTok to be like my most truest source. I was just hoping you could provide me with anything, and I figured it'd be a good idea to ask this question in front of a lot of people so they can also see congress.gov or any other official websites.
Well, so when you brought up congress.gov, my first thought I was like, wow, that's a great resource for we used congress.gov today. I was looking at the Langford bill earlier in this call, earlier in this episode, because congress.gov is really good for looking at what the actual language of the bill is or that sort of thing.
Yeah, I've been since 2018 or 2016, since Trump has ran for office, I've been on that website looking at every bill passed, who's voting for it. That it's a beautiful website. So I'm just looking for more. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine. But you know, the difficult thing about this question is I can tell you that my favorite, most reliable 3 website resources are BBC, Reuters, and the Associated Press. But that doesn't mean that those 3 are always going to be the right answer when the question is who's a good source when it comes to this particular thing. What do you care most about? What are you trying to keep up on?
The truth. I care about my freedoms. I'm more so care about what's happening nationally, not internationally. So I just care more about our backyard than I do overseas. So I guess I'm more of a socialist. So yeah, just human rights for all.
Yeah, well, yeah, and the difficulty is just that there, if the truth is what you're after, we're on the same page. But the difficulty is that it's just not always obvious who's gonna give you the least biased version of the truth, depending on the subject matter that you're talking about. So it's hard to answer it specifically. I will just read. This just popped up in the Discord because I have a very trusted newsreader by the name of Snake on my Discord who does most of my news pushing. Most of the time when I read an article, it's because he's gotten there first and sent it to me. And the list that he uses is AP News, Associated Press, like I said, AP News, Reuters, ABC, NBC, Newsweek, PubMed Studies, PBS, and maybe a couple of others, but those are the main ones. And they'll consider, those will consider their biases. He added CBS to the list. The 3-letter acronym on ABC, NBC, CBS, we have to consider political bias for all of these things. I like NPR's reporting personally also, but it's super liberal leaning. And I don't at this time endorse Ground News. I see it popping up in the chat, but they use AI for their summaries. And when the difficulty with AI summaries is that, the difficulty with AI summaries is that you have to already be knowledgeable to tell when the AI fucked up. So it defeats the purpose. Using them for.
I've worked in tech, and even now AI can stumble me sometimes. So I just try to stay all away from it as much as I can. Yeah. It sounds to me like you've got a good enough eye for the truth that you're capable of considering motivations of who's telling you what they're telling you. I'm always welcoming more.
You gotta consider that. But the biggest thing is that there's just so many things that people can look at a firsthand source for, and instead of trusting a particular news station. Because I had a caller a couple days ago who was really upset about something that Ilhan Omar said, and it took him a week and a half to find me what she actually said. When we finally found a video of her saying the thing, I don't care what website that video is hosted on. I'm perfectly happy to go to fox.com and find a video of Ilhan Omar as long as it's a real video of Ilhan Omar talking. It's not a bunch of. I haven't caught Fox News posting AI videos of politicians yet.
I don't catch them posting too much of the truth as well.
Well, right, but yeah, so the article about the video was bullshit, but the video was fine. And then, like when it comes to local news, this is a random little tidbit I'll give you that I think people need to consider more, is that when there's local news, go to the local news station for that place and watch what they say. Because I very frequently use Fox 9 Minneapolis as a source for what's going on in my neck of the woods. Because even though it's Fox, the people who work there fucking live here. So if there's a fire, they're going to report on it reasonably accurately. Even during Metro Surge, their reporting was mostly on how disruptive Metro Surge was to Minneapolis. Not so they obviously painted the federal government in a better light than the other places did. But like for local news, it really the political bias matters way less. It's the local bias that matters more, and the local bias is one that, out of self-preservation, like people will report honestly on their own neighborhoods. They'll be held to account in their life if they report inaccurately on their own neighborhoods. So if something's going on in some random city, look up what news the people who live in that city watch, and watch that. Because local news,
that makes a lot of sense.
Local news has been a bastion of hope for me, where I can find a story and on the local news station, it's like clear and direct reporting on it. But then if you look at the big 3-letter organizations, it's just a bunch of fucking partisan slop. We saw that very recently with the shooting in Madison. There was an officer-involved shooting that people are really upset and protesting about there.
I have a lot of family in Madison. It's unfortunate.
I think it was a pretty nasty shooting and quite the edge case in terms of like whether or not it was a lawful use of force, which is the sort of edge case that people protest about and say that if the officer's not guilty because the rules allowed him to do what he did, then the rules are bad, because I can look at this and ethically say it was a bad shooting. But the only reason I was able to look at it and judge whether or not it was a good shooting is because the local news stations were showing the footage unedited, whereas the major syndicates are chopping it up to fit their narrative. So as long as you consider those motivations. Same thing I was talking about with the previous caller. We were talking about politicians, not news reporters, but consider the motivations. That's why BBC is good for American news, because they don't care about our politics. They care about they care about what America is going to do. So they tend to report accurately on what's going on.
I think going so far as going on I might be saying it wrong, but Al Jazeera,
Al Jazeera.
Thank you, Al Jazeera. I feel like a different country telling us what's going on in our own country is giving us a different perspective is always just as nice as well. I don't want to take up too much of your time, because I appreciate what you're doing, and you need to keep telling these people how stupid they are. So I just want to make sure BBC is something you recommend. Reuters is another one. Maybe I heard PBS, or maybe that was just me. I'm not sure. Yeah. But I've always trusted PBS.
And I'll say that my news guy Snake over on the Discord, he said that he does use ground news, but I actually go through the articles. It's my only aggregate news source, and then he responded with like 100 things. So I think he liked what I ended up saying about ground news, which is that you can use a tool like ground news if you already have enough background about all the different like don't let ground news be what teaches you which sources are good and bad. But if you have
I have a hard time listening to anybody or trusting any single source. I have to go through. I might not seem like it, but I'm a nut, and so I need to be as updated as possible. And just wherever the information is, that's where I'm going.
Yeah, it's like how like I for very quick general knowledge, I'm knowledgeable enough about how AI generated stuff works that there's certain things I'm perfectly willing to use like an AI generated blurb for. I have this example I discussed with my team, because we're like, I'm teaching people how to use the software to run the show and stuff like that. And it's like, if you need to look up a keyboard macro for doing something, Google the AI generated thing is great, because you can just check if it works, and if it doesn't, like, then it was wrong. Like, you get proven wrong right away, and then you don't have this bad piece of misinformation kicking around your head.
I really wish people didn't use AI overviews as a way to show information. It's very butchered and messed up. I understand, yeah.
But if AI overview tells you that it's Control M to send the selected section in Adobe Premiere to Media Encoder, and then you hit Control M and it works, it's like, there we go. Cool. Like, so if you have that sort of like higher level thing, but so that's why I avoid suggesting ground news, and that's why I urge people really not to use. If you don't understand that already, you're not qualified to assess when you can use the Google AI for a quick task. And just
that's what I
stay the
agree
fuck
on.
away from it if
Absolutely.
you don't know what you're doing. It's playing with fire is what it is. And
Most people don't know, and so that's why it's a bad source. I don't
Right.
think I see a lot of the comments. I don't initially think AI is a bad source of information. It's just that we know that the general population of people just don't understand research correctly, and so it's very hard to not gain misinformation when you don't understand what information you're taking in.
Snake, my news guy, says, boo, AI overview, check the sources, which, yeah, you can click on the source and then make sure that whatever bullshit the AI overview says, you can skip it and not read it. But if you do read it, check if it even agrees with the source it gave you, because
90% of people don't check the source.
well, they don't check it, and it is just that sort of thing where, like, if you like, even if it works 90% of the time, that can feel like a really good success rate. But if 10% of the things that you learn are wrong, that's an emergency. You're gonna believe some nonsense. You know, you only have to be catastrophically wrong about like 0.1% of the things you learn for like one of them to cause you to have a really pernicious belief that's maybe problematic for some of your decision making because it fucks up your worldview. So there is no direct answer, which is why when people ask me that question, I tend to just have a brief conversation like this one with you about. It's briefer than the previous conversation. But I do appreciate the question, and my answer to it has been evolving as the correct answer evolves. So I appreciate you coming up and asking.
I appreciate you, Oscar. Love what you do. Love you. Thank you. Stay safe, and just keep yelling at dumbasses for me. Thank you.
I'll keep it up. Thank you, Larence. Yeah. It's hard, man. Like I remember Dean got asked that question once before I was making content, and he said, I'm in a peculiar spot. I don't read the news. People tell it to me because I'm me. And I thought, oh, that's fucking sick. Like, you got other people worrying about this problem for you. I have become such a person since then, and it is in addition to being like a wild privilege that there are people who spend their labor, like their time, their contribution to the world is like giving Oskar Quentin news articles. And so I don't have to worry about this as much as I did fairly recently, but it also puts me in a difficult situation to have a good answer for somebody, because I need to make sure that I don't like lose my edge in terms of being good at reading the news. I don't want to become too dependent on Snake, even though he's fucking awesome at what he does on the Discord. Discord's in the link tree in the bio for those who want to get in there. There's an application process. It's not open to the public, but you can try. You will probably succeed if you're not an obvious troll. Araxis sent $5 to say, only if you want to comment about my @ in Discord. Oh, where was it? Which chat? I don't remember. Oh gosh, now I'm closing everything. I didn't mean to close that. Ah. I missed the @ I don't know. Put it back in the operational if you want to refresh it. But thank you for the $5. I appreciate it. Yeah, we're doing a chill show today. I'm saying that to summon a heinous guest to change the tone of the show, because I am kind of enjoying the chill show. Chairman wanted to get a quick word in edgewise. That we can let that happen. We chilling. We haven't semi mid show friendly time. What's up?
How you doing, man?
I'm a little tired. Had a late night. I'm in a good mood, though.
So, I know you don't go full Phil bro, but I do know you've read some philosophy. Have you ever read Baudelaire?
Baudelaire? No.
Don't. He's a postmodernist. It's impossible to follow.
Oh, those fucking pesky postmodernists. They're the Phil bros of the actual philosophy world. They're like, if you look at real philosophers, the people they consider Phil bros are the postmodernists, and they're the fucking worst. They're impossible to talk to.
I will say I have avoided it like the plague, and I recently read Baudelaire because in the 80s he came up with the idea of simulacra and simulation. Keep in mind, we're talking the 80s. He was saying that by the 80s, media had become so personalized between magazines and television stations. His whole term for it was hyperreality.
Oh, yeah.
People could start falling into their information silos where they're only reading the information with confirmation bias. with the last guest, with the first guest, the kid, I recommend everybody gets a second TikTok, a second Insta, whatever it is, purposefully liking things they don't like and disliking things they do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've made a bunch of accounts, and it is always fascinating popping into a fresh algorithm and being like, what is it trying to show me? Like, what is this? Like, straightforwardly,
Well,
here's something that's funny that's going on with my algorithm, just so people can understand, like, how I engage with this, because I don't watch short content. I'm a hypocrite. I professionally manufacture the stuff, but I don't sit and scroll. I don't watch it, you know? Like, I like that Instagram, if I scroll for like 10 things, it'll show me 10 things that people I follow closely posted. Like, and I can look at that and be like, I chose to follow these people. This feels like my little menu of what to see today. I wish there was more of like a old school YouTube sub box where I could see it. But because I don't engage with the algorithm, I don't visit the For You page on TikTok ever. I have never scrolled on TikTok, not once in my life. I don't do it. I just like navigate it through other ways. I choose my own adventure. But my producer Jessie makes content, and she's my friend. I like watching her videos, so I support them. I repost them and like them and stuff. But like straightforwardly, she's like kind of a pretty girl. So my iPhone's like, Oskar only likes pretty girls. So my Instagram feed is like a bunch of like in their 20s girls like doing like skit content and like the type of stuff that Jessie makes. And Jessie's my friend. I love watching her stuff. She's fucking silly. I met her from her being a comedian. But my phone is like, show Oskar funny girls. Like not there's. It used to be guitars. They figured out that I'm a musician. It's like Oskar likes watching videos of people playing Gretsch guitars or whatever the fuck. Old videos of Johnny Cash and shit. But like I just don't ever fucking engage with it. So like I'll like, it's like go to my fucking likes on my TikTok account. It's just Jessie's videos. And like a couple other videos from my friends. So it has completely fucked up my entire algorithm because like it takes so little for it to set off thinking I think something.
Oh no, absolutely.
Yeah.
And unfortunately we're at a point where things like TikTok have become most people's source of news. And there are some good reporters on here. There are. Yeah. But like it's real easy. My nephew is 21. He is Groyper adjacent at this point. And the things that he will say that he is just convinced are completely real are just mind-boggling. Except for the fact that I have this other TikTok where because I've made it antithetical, I see the stuff he's seeing and it becomes really understandable to see how he gets where he is.
Well, and I'll sometimes just be like, somebody will be showing me something on Instagram, and then when you go to search, it gives you like a panel of like 9 or 12 videos that are just like the thumbnails of like, kind of their equivalent of the For You page or whatever it is, whatever you call that landing page. And every now and then when I like see my friend like, oh, I'll show you this, and they open and they go to the search thing, I get a glimpse of their 12 panels. And so often I'm like, God, what is all that? what is all this nonsense it's trying to show you? Like, why are you looking at all that stuff?
My parents are extra old, and when my dad first got on TikTok, I said, listen, you're going to get a lot of videos of scantily clad women dancing. Make sure you dislike them.
Yeah.
That's all you're going to get.
Yeah, when I got on TikTok, it was the same thing. It was just like, shaking titties for like a month and a half.
That's the default. They're like, this sells. Well, everyone will like this.
I remember going in and liking guitar videos just because I didn't like, frankly, I felt like Instagram felt like not safe for work to open because it was just jiggling bodies when I opened it. So I had to like go in and like fucking like a guitar video, like make sure that I swipe away from this shit quickly. Like if I see someone, like that's the weird reflex you have to have if you don't want to fuck up your algorithm, is like, oh, I saw a pretty girl, swipe away as fast as you fucking can, because if you stare for a second, it's gonna measure how long it took you to swipe and be like, no, we got him. Yeah, no. Oskar thinks she's
50 data points it collects at any given moment.
Right. It's like fucking, it's like tracking every pixel of where my finger moves. I probably swipe differently when it's a pretty girl than when it's a guy playing a guitar. Like they track this shit about us and they figure out our fucking brains and they like weaponize it against us. And it's fucking great. It's unsurprising the default is attractive women. Sex sells. It's the oldest piece of advice for the advertising world, right?
Oh no, absolutely. Old Carl's Jr. commercials. With Paris Hilton.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's I'm terrified of the algorithms. AI, when people don't realize AI is like not just a bunch of like slop images. Like AI is this really powerful mechanism for coming up with tools that are able to algorithmically output results, and whether that result is like a high fidelity image of something or a program that like uses this black box to determine based on those inputs, based on the data about how long I took to swipe past a particular video or like, you know, whatever. Like I bet it considers like the 9 to 12 icons that are on the screen and how long it takes for you to start your search, because like depending on what those images are, it might change the amount of time it takes for you to click and start typing, because maybe you got distracted by something for a second but you didn't actually engage with it, and it like notices that. And the people are aware of how powerful AI has gotten when it comes to making videos and pictures and stuff, but like we need to consider the fact that a lot of this number crunching has to do with those 50 data points you were just talking about. And like our individual algorithm is a thing that that these tools are being used to more effectively than any time in human history, you know, weaponize this want that the advertisers have for our attention. And the advertiser's job is to connect that attention with people who want it for some reason through a financial structure. And it ends up being fucking billionaires and politicians and people who want to spread misinformation and trick youngsters into thinking illegal immigrants are dangerous or whatever the fuck it is. But it's also just bad for your brain. Like if we take a step back from worrying about the effect on society, for each of us individually, it is just bad for our brain to yield the reins of our attention to a fucking smartphone app that's using technology we can't understand to make us addicted to it.
I have a young teenager who unfortunately, you know, went to Zoom school for like 2nd and 3rd grade, who I have now been consistently telling him AI is a great starting place. It's a great starting place. There's stuff that used to be impossible to Google because the question was too complicated. And if nothing else, you at least get your like, okay, these are the search terms I'm looking for. But it's never the end. If anytime it's the end, you probably messed up.
Yeah. Well, I'm given the way we spent the first call, I'm just happy giving this more airtime. But thanks for coming up, Chairman.
I'll let you go. I'm just going to say we need to convince AI that every hotkey is Alt F4.
What does Alt F4 do?
Closes whatever you're in, including Windows.
That's funny.
Hey, you have a good one, man.
You as well. All right, let's talk to Pink Power. Do I have donations to read? Thank you for the £5. The Kenny boy. He said, if AI had a media bias check for their sources, that would be so good. It would, but it's deeper than that. It's not that they like aren't like putting it in there. It's that there's a fundamental problem with the way that AI works, which is that it is biased in a way that its creators can't even understand. So there is no way to just have it report what its biases are, which is a little bit self-evident by us calling them biases. It's like asking a person to report what their biases are. I can tell you that I'm left-leaning, and that creates a liberal bias or whatever for me. But that doesn't mean that I understand my own brain so well that I know when I'm making a mistake because of my bias. And that's just the fundamental problem with the way the biases work. And anybody who tells you otherwise is lying to you. Nobody has the golden solution. Pink Power is our next caller. Let's talk about some power structures with Pink Power. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe not. Nope. They do not connect. Rogue Ghost in the chat says, oh, there's ops in here. They're just scared. Yeah, I think so. I think I should read what Araxis said in the Discord, because they sent a donation, and this is a longer message, but I'll read it because we don't have a caller. There's a huge deconstruction of how our discourse works at this point, due to how we've been impacted by online engagement. Most people dopamine seek by way of engagement. We can see this in the way half-read memes, the way they half-read memes and repost them just to see how many people like and comment. This is actually where Oscar's restraint comes in. There's a lack of restraint in a lot of these MAGA. They don't have the restraint to fully read any source or fully read out any idea of any situation. It's all surface level and share, or surface level and accept. This is how you can see who is worth engaging. I was going to join during your friendly time and say this, but I won't have the chance to. And then at me, thank you for your restraint. It's easier to go to the dopamine hit than spend time to investigate. If you get engaged in the way you want, it makes you not care to go validate it yourself. Well, yeah, it's just this like blurry line where people are like not considering the fact that the videos they watch for fun when they're bored are like influencing the things they think about the world. It's quite frightening. The Blues sent $2 to say reality has a well-known liberal bias. -- Stephen Colbert. That's a good one. It's like I had somebody call into the show and they were like, I was telling them about history and they said they don't listen to historians because historians are always liberal. And I was like, buddy, you're so close. You're this fucking close. Yeah, historians tend to be liberal people. Oh my God. Are there no callers? I think I'm wrapping the show, guys. I'm tired. It was my birthday this week, and I was out late with my buddies. Go listen to Fall by Sensing Agony instead of watching this show. Go to the link tree in the bio and do the things. Care for yourself. Go for a run. Drink a smoothie. Decide that you're going to get better at that hobby instead of just watching videos about people who did get better at that hobby. Do something like that with your Saturday. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. 10 o'clock Central Time. TikTok and YouTube Live. Goodbye, TikTok. And goodbye, YouTube.